October 15th. Looks like our time is 7:04. What we normally do is we start our meetings with a prayer and a pledge. So if we could please all stand and remove hats. I pray for each and everyone's personal issues, that there is resolution or peace in whatever you're dealing with. I pray that all preserve and understand the sanctity of life. I pray that all experiencing hardships due to natural disasters receive help in all aspects of their lives, enabling them to resume joyful and maybe rewarding lives. I pray for our local first responders who today encountered a dangerous situation. The same for all those who serve others in any capacity. May they remain strong in their commitment to serving others with help from above. Through Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. All right, if we can go on with, do a roll call, please.
Ready?
Closer? Can you hear? Okay.
Danny Wilcox.
Here.
Kevin Kirkwood.
Present.
Van Sands. Eric Carlson. Eric Carlson. Absent. Mike Buck. Mike Buck. Absent. Dee Dee Schott Grace. Dee Dee Schott Grace. Absent. Robert Politic. Robert Politic. Absent. John Grisham.
Here.
John Waller.
Present.
Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay. On to, well, remember to turn off the cell phones. Okay. Staff report. Do we have anything to go over?
Yes, sir. I would just report to the commission that on October 9th, the Board of County Commissioners approved 2 land use cases that had been heard before the Planning Commission, the Morstead PUD and the Hillside Estates rezoning.
Okay. Thank you. Consent agenda items, there are none, correct? Okay. Citizen comments, this section is for any comments unrelated to any application tonight. Because
Pardon me, Chair. You do have a lady here in the audience for that.
Okay. This is unrelated to any application that we have. So if we have somebody, please step up. You okay? Okay. All right. I guess we have a couple meeting minutes to approve. What do we have? September 3rd meeting minutes. So do we review those to some degree?
Make a motion that we approve the minutes.
September 3rd. Okay, do we have a second anywhere here?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay. Can I forgo the reading of them?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so we'll go on. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's September 3rd, September 17th minutes.
I move that we approve the September 17th meeting minutes.
Got a motion and a second? Pardon me? The minutes from September 17th. 2? Okay, at this point, We have any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Pardon me, Chair, could you repeat the motion and the gentleman that made the motion and the second?
Motion, second.
Okay, now we're going to go into our public hearing process. And what I want to start with, and can I get a show of hands tonight who's here for the rezones? Okay, pretty much everybody. You got two applications here we're going through. This is an SUR. This is not the rezone. This is a SUR. I'm speaking specifically about the rezone for Tailwind. Who's here for that? The majority. Okay. I just want to kind of, before I go into this public hearing, I want to give you kind of a heads up. Tonight, what we're considering, what we're reviewing, is strictly a rezone of a property. And it looks as though they want to rezone this from agriculture to agricultural residential to some degree. That's all we are looking at. Okay, so at this point, we don't know the specifics about what this is actually going to be. So eventually, and I don't know how long, this application, if it passes this rezone hearing, will come before us as a preliminary plat, and we will then have more knowledge of what the plans are for the property. So, and I'm saying that for a reason, is because, and I'm assuming people are going to stand up and speak to it, we will not have a lot of knowledge of what you're concerned with. Sir, public comment will come. Yes, and it will come at public comment. So, what I'm telling you is, so when you stand up, we'll take notes and take everything we have, but what we cannot offer is a rebuttal because we have no idea what's going to happen with the property. So you're welcome to speak and take notes, but normally we try to comply and try to reply with maybe answers to your questions or stuff like that. We may not be able to do that tonight because strictly all we're looking at is the rezoning of the property. Okay? That's what, and I want to tell you. Now, if it's a preliminary plat, when we have everything in front of us, the plan for the application, what they're going to do with the property, how they're going to divide it and everything else, what's going to happen with the roads, then we'll have the ability here to we'll have people who can answer questions, and we'll have an idea of what's going on. Okay, and I wanted to say that up front. So one, you know for sure that if it's regarding this, you come back to the preliminary plat. And two, to excuse us for maybe being too, we're not ignoring your comments or anything else, we just don't know enough about it. Okay? So with that, we're going to go into our public hearing. We are a volunteer board up here. We're pretty much a citizens advisory group. That's all we do. We're the same as you. What we're supposed to do is we're supposed to judge this application based on the codes and ordinances that are currently there. The outcome of this hearing, it can be three ways. You can vote to recommend approval. And when I say recommend, all we can do is recommend. We can't change the code. We can't change the rules. We can't change the application. All we can do is recommend approval, and that goes to the BOCC. We can recommend denial, and that goes to the BOCC. And we could recommend approval with possible conditions. And those conditions would be listed. Those still go to the board. Nothing is enacted through this board. So at this point, the outcome of this, it's going forward to the BOCC, and it will be heard there. So I would recommend that you folks take that opportunity to go to the board too and go forward with your concerns, whatever. So, as we start the process, the hearing goes like this. First, our staff will present the application. Okay, then we normally ask the applicant if they'll come up and they'll present. Then at that point, we then open it up for citizen comments. And what I would ask is that when you folks come up, just state your name, where you live, and please, if we could kind of keep it to 3 minutes, it would be nice. Okay, we're going to try to adhere that so everybody gets a chance to talk. So after public comment is complete, then we tend to try to answer the questions through the applicant and our staff, okay, which I explained to you earlier, the position we're in. So with that, our first hearing tonight is Heartland Pines Wedding and Events. This is an SUR. So, special use by review. So who is presenting that one? Danny? Okay, thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is Danny Klebanner, and I'm a planner here with Elbert County for the Community and Economic Development Department. This first case is Heartland Pines Wedding and Events Venue. This is a special use by review, and the case number is SUR 2024-1802. So the details for this, the request is to open a wedding and events venue, which is a special use on an agricultural parcel. The action tonight will be the Planning Commission recommendation, which will be presented to the Board of County Commissioners. The location for this project is 18020 County Road 1 in Elbert, Colorado, 80106. So the applicants here are Eric Markowski and Victoria Markowski. They conducted a pre-application with us back in April of this year on the 10th. They had a community meeting May 22nd of this year. They submitted the application July 30th. And here we are today for Planning Commission, October 15th. And the Board of County Commissioners hearing is November 13th. All noticing complied with Elbert County zoning regulations 14-day advance notice with a posting in Ranchland News, a quarter-mile radius mailing that went out September 25th, and an on-site sign posting on the 25th as well. The location for this project is in the far southwest corner of the county. On the west side of Delbert Road, County Road 1 is Douglas County, and on the south side of County Road 74 is El Paso County. So it's very near the junction of the three counties there. Here is a zoning map. In the lower left, you can see the subject property. This is a more remote and rural area of Elbert County with larger lot ranching in surrounding properties. To the west is Douglas County with residences and a large greenhouse business that can be seen just to the northwest of the property there. Here is a closer view of the property. Again, you can see the area still pretty far out. And here's more detail. This map shows a house, several outbuildings, and large greenhouses. Those are 96 by 27 greenhouses, just to give you scale of what we're looking at. The proposed parking lot for this special use will be in the tree-lined area to the north of the house, and the proposed venue will be north of that parking lot. The existing zoning and land use here is agriculture and a residential land use. The proposed zoning and land use, again, is agriculture. There is no change to the zoning. A special use would be added to allow for a wedding and events venue with a maximum of 150 guests. This special use would be accessed through a commercial driveway that would serve the parking lot. And again, the property is accessible via County Road 1, Delbert Road. Getting into the details for this business, it is an event venue with a proposed maximum number of guests of 150. There is a 2.86 acre SUR area, which includes the outdoor venue area. The hours for this venue would be 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. and season March through December. Security will be provided for all weddings and events. There are 136 parking spaces, which measure 9 by 18 with 5 ADA parking spaces. Guests will provide their own catering company. Restrooms will be located in the proposed wedding venue building, and there are 2 commercial refrigerators. Here's a more zoomed in look at the site plan. That dotted line, kind of in a heart shape almost, is the special use area with the proposed venue, indoor venue up at the top there. You can see the parking just to the south of that, and the greenhouses off to the east. Getting into the site plan detail, it would be a gravel parking lot with 25-foot wide drive aisles. The venue will be set back approximately 273 feet from the edge of Delbert Road. The proposed venue building is 64 feet by 65 feet. There will be a screened chain link fence surrounding the parking area, and a cistern will provide water for the special use. The existing well will not be used for water supply. The on-site wastewater treatment system will be reviewed and permitted for appropriate size by Elbert County Public Health, and the commercial entrance will be required and permitted by Elbert County Public Works. During the community meeting and public comment period for this, several concerns were brought by community members, including the roads, road condition leading to the venue, smoking and wildfires. People were concerned that guests could start a fire. Noise, attendees were worried about noise level, especially during events. Concerns about alcohol consumption and control. Another concern was directions and guests being lost in the neighborhood and showing up at the wrong property. And water usage was another concern. Another member of the public brought a concern that during the Dutch Heritage Garden sale at the nearby commercial greenhouse, the roads get very rough from excessive use, and worried that with the road being in a rough shape from that sale, the wedding venue would exacerbate that condition. During the referral, responses were collected from all these agencies shown, including Colorado Division of Water Resources, Kiowa Conservation District, several Elbert County departments, Douglas County, El Paso County, Elbert Fire Protection District and School District, and Mountain View Electric Association. During the referral period, the main concerns that were addressed were the cistern, which would need a filtration system. The applicants let our public health department know they will not be operating any full-service kitchen. This septic system will have to be designed for the 150-person occupancy, and a road use agreement will have to be recorded with the SUR. So for all SURs, our zoning regulations list 8 criteria for special use by review requests, and the Planning Commission are to consider these criteria in their review. A through H are as follows. A, whether the use is in harmony and compatible with the surrounding area and neighborhood. This wedding and event use will be in harmony and compatible with the surrounding area and neighborhood. The properties directly surrounding are very large ranching properties. There are 2 residences in Douglas County, approximately a quarter mile to 0.4 miles from the venue. Other than these residences in Douglas County, the nearest homes are about a mile away or further from the venue. There is a large greenhouse business operating on the Douglas County side of County Road 1, and this is the largest business in the area, which is a main driver of traffic. The applicants also modified their plans to limit hours of the venue with a proposed closing time of 9 p.m. B, whether the use will not have an undue burden on available infrastructure. Heartland Pines will have to be accessed from an entrance built to commercial standards from County Road 1. The applicants provided a traffic letter produced by an engineer that indicates no negative impact to traffic operations for the surrounding roadway network. Elbert County Road and Bridge requested a road use letter, which will be recorded with this special use. The adjacent county road is not anticipated to be burdened by this proposal. Douglas and El Paso counties did not have any planning, engineering, or addressing concerns relating to this proposal. C, whether the use will not unduly increase traffic congestion or burden the existing road system. Again, Road and Bridge reviewed application materials, and Road and Bridge required a letter of understanding from the applicant that no additional or special maintenance to County Road 1 or County Road 74 will be provided by the county. These roads will be maintained on the normal schedule, which will vary depending on conditions. There is no set time frame between grading of any county roads. If complaints are received about road deterioration or excessive dust, then the applicant will be required to pay for mitigation of these conditions at the county's discretion. If this agreement is not adhered to, then Road and Bridge reserves the right to suspend all activities at this location until the issue is resolved. This agreement will be attached to the permit and enforced until there is a change in the use of the property. D, whether the use will not cause significant air, odor, water, noise, or light pollution. The uses proposed are not believed to cause significant forms of pollution. The applicant understands the residential and agricultural nature of the area. There is no additional outdoor lighting being proposed. The applicant has expressed a commitment to reducing noise and mitigating it from the events. E, whether all sanitation requirements will be met. Elbert County Public Health reviewed this application. The applicant provided up-to-date information on the septic system. The applicant will be required to apply for the new septic system for the proposed venue through Elbert County Public Health, and the applicant will provide temporary bathrooms before on-site bathrooms are constructed. All comments from Elbert County Public Health, including catering and sanitation, have been addressed. F, whether the use will be adequately landscape buffered or screened. This venue is designed for guest enjoyment with the public and aesthetics as primary drivers for the development. The parking area will be gravel and lined with trees to fit in with the rural nature of the venue and surrounded by a screened chain link fence. The building will be of higher quality than general outbuildings in the area. And this venue is in a sparsely populated area and designed to capitalize on the natural beauty of the surroundings with adequate distance and a stand of trees between the venue and the nearest neighbor, which is about a quarter mile away. G, whether the use will not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. This use should not be detrimental to Elbert County residents. The Elbert Fire Protection District has reviewed the application and determined that all requirements have been met. Additionally, the applicant has detailed plans and procedures to prevent and respond to emergencies with security being provided for events. The applicant has also has extensive knowledge about fire protection and works for a fire protection district, Fountain Fire. And finally, H, whether supplemental standards are met for specific uses as applicable. All supplemental standards, including setbacks, are met. Staff recommend the Planning Commission find the following for this special use request. It is in general conformance with Elbert County's comprehensive plan. It is generally compatible with existing and allowable land uses in the surrounding area. It will not have an undue burden on available infrastructure. It will not unduly increase traffic congestion or burden the existing road system. It will meet all sanitation requirements. It will be buffered. It will not result in significant impact to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents and landowners of the surrounding area, and it conforms to all supplemental standards. Staff recommend that the Planning Commission recommend approval for Heartland Pines Wedding and Event Venue Special Use by Review case number SUR-2024-1802, subject to the following conditions. Applicant will remove the public hearing sign within 7 days of the BOCC decision, Board of County Commissioner decision. This special use shall not become effective until all fees are paid, conditions of approval are met, and the exhibit is recorded. Recordation of all appropriate documentation is to occur within 180 days of a Board of County Commissioner approval, and the letter of acknowledgement for the road use is recorded with this special use by review exhibit. That is all I have for this. Thank you, commissioners, and we'll welcome any questions.
Okay, at this point, the applicant, it looks like it's Eric and Victoria Markowski. Do you please? Good evening. You have anything to add? Go ahead and add just, or did they cover it?
Basically, when we moved up to this property, we saw the natural beauty of it, and the different views that we could offer people to have the wedding venue on. It's been a dream of my wife's for a long period of time to be able to do this. We used to live in El Paso County, on 5 acres. We looked at trying to get it set up in El Paso County. The nightmare was too intense for us to deal with at that point. So we started looking for a property, found the perfect place in Elbert County, and started pursuing our dream. We contacted the county to kind of find out what we would need to do to get this up and going. And it was more of, hey, you need to buy the property in order for us to kind of help you out with the situation. So once we brought the property, we started the process, and that's why we're here today, is because we want to make a lifelong dream of ours come true. And we've already had one special wedding that was a family friend of ours. It's actually a brother's cousin is what it was. So we ended up hosting that wedding venue. It was only about 100 people. We kept the noise level down. We also, for ourselves, wanted to kind of find out what the noise level would have been. So we kind of drove down the road, up the road, recorded, kind of listened to what the music was going to be like. And we hosted this inside of our garage, which is where you see the house, the first barn just to the north of it, where it says propane tank on it.
Right there.
Yeah, he's showing you on the red. That is where we actually hosted that first wedding at. And there was no noise pollution that we could tell from anywhere. We kept it down to a minimum. They did have a couple loud songs, but it wasn't loud enough that you could hear it, further than a couple 100 feet past our road or whatever. But so with our intention is to obviously adhere to the public. We know that there's been some current concerns with the public of the noise pollution, the traffic. And as it stands right now with our road study that we had done, they did find that it's not going to be a big impact compared to what the Dutch Heritage Gardens produces on there with the heavy semis that go up and down the road. So with that, and then also myself being a lieutenant of the City of Fountain Fire Department, obviously fire protection is the biggest, utmost of my respect for anything. We do not want to have any type of fire situation happen. Obviously there's catastrophic situations that happen, so that's why we would be looking at installing a cistern to eventually help provide fire protection to that, to allow the volunteers and other departments to show up to assist in that fire protection. As far as smoking, we've had numerous conversations about it. We will provide some indoor area to where that they would, if they do need to smoke, they're allowed to smoke in, but the ashtrays will be put out. There's always going to be fire extinguishers on the property. And then parking, and then the security, we also don't want to have any violence going on at these venues or weddings. That's why we've also contacted an ex-police chief that's running a security company that would be willing to help us out in hosting the security for this. So, yeah.
Sorry. We realize we're trying to be respectful to our neighbors, and we've done everything I think that we possibly could do. We realize there's a few neighbors that are around us that are not happy about this. And so that's why we've put these items in place, security, those types of things. So I just want to put that out there, that we are being respectful. We realize people move out to the country to, you know, have their peace and quiet. We understand that. And that's pretty much all I have to say is we've tried everything that we possibly can to make it as peaceful as we can. We're not in the business to have a wedding every single day, maybe 3 or 4 a month, which is like really nothing to our competitors. I mean, some of these people are doing them every other day. We don't want to do that. Another thing is wedding venues are super expensive right now, and people cannot afford to pay $25,000 for a space, okay? So we wanted to give them a beautiful place where it is reasonable, where they can do that. So since we had our first wedding, we have gotten a ton of referrals, and some, you know, we've turned down. We're not ready yet until we have our building. So respectfully, we could have something on our property, but we choose not to until we get the full approval. So at the end of the day, we are being respectful of everybody's feelings. We understand there's some unhappy people here that are going to come up and talk to you, but I think that we've mitigated everything that we possibly could for this business. And we appreciate you guys listening to us.
Okay, thank you. Here's what we will do. At this point, what you could do is if you folks take a seat, and then we'll ask for citizen comments, okay, on your application. And then we'll take notes from the citizens that come up here and comment, and we may ask you to come back up and maybe speak to some of the things that come up. Okay, between yourselves and staff, that's how we'll manage that, okay?
I did want to say one other thing. We do live on a big property, so I've got security around my property to protect our property, the roads. I mean, we can see, you know, the roads and people who drive out and stuff like that. So just wanted to let you know that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, so at this point, who do we have who would like to speak on this application? Do we have a list? We do. Okay, looks like pretty much everybody on this list. It looks like I've got rezone, zoning. I got one here at Heartland Pines. I think this one down here, this is a Tom Guston? That make sense? Okay, once you're on this list, once I get them, I will be sure to get everybody. Okay? If you could, please come on up. State your name.
Sure.
And your address, and then if you could, please.
Yeah. My name is Tom Guston. Yeah, my address is 18501 County Road 1. So they talked about the quarter-mile house. That's me. So I'm the neighbor across the street. Okay. First, I want to say thanks for your public service. I'm a 25-year veteran. I appreciate what you're doing here. I also appreciate your service as well. So obviously, this impacts my property probably the most of anywhere around. I would disagree with Danny about the compatibility study. I would say that a 150-person wedding venue out in a rural setting is not compatible whatsoever. If you look on the map there, you look around there, it's a perfect, wonderful Colorado setting, right? So it's a great place to have weddings. I disagree. I think it's an agricultural place. That's why it's zoned agriculture or residential. Of all the properties out there, up and down the street, cattle, a little bit of ranching, That's what everybody's doing. So I disagree with the compatibility study. I also disagree with the two big things I disagree with are the roads and the noise. And so the noise is the biggest one I'd like to see addressed, but the roads, you can't see it here, but if you go down County Road 1 and you turn the corner to County Road, that's the southern part of my property. And every winter, I get 2 to 3 vehicles that go right through my fence. There's a tricky little curve right there. I've been working with Douglas County and El Paso County to try to get it fixed, but the fence has been torn down for years, and I've got neighbors that can attest to that. I'm trying to fix it. We're trying to figure a solution out, but it's a dangerous setting. You throw in a wedding, you throw in a little bit of a good time, inclement weather, it's a very dangerous spot, and I've had several people go through. So that's the road piece. That's going to be a tough one to fix. So the last one, though, the noise thing, and the noise is, they had the recent wedding, and I heard it, and I can hear their dogs barking. Like the quarter mile, the mezzanine will point directly at my property. And the intent when we were there for the meeting is to have a nice open space. And it sounds great, and to look towards Pikes Peak. There's a little spot there. Yep, so it's the property right there. So there's really nothing in between where they're going to build and down to my house. So now, they're right. At the wedding, I could hear the wedding. I went inside and I shut the door, couldn't hear anything, and that's okay. But the issue is the frequency, right? So this is the first I've heard them say they only 3 or 4 these a month, and that'd be great, but if it's popular and they want a successful business, every Friday, every Saturday, every Sunday from May until October, or even maybe November if we have nice weather, I've got to go in my house and shut the door every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I can't go outside and enjoy myself, right? So to me, it's the frequency of the noise. So something that would block or because if they don't, then I'm going to have to probably do something like that. So those are the big issues for me. The road, you can see the curve actually at the bottom. You can see that right there. That's the little nasty curve, and the Douglas County sheriffs know right where it is. So anyway, and the other one is the noise. So I will be highly impacted, and I disagree. I don't think a wedding venue, look around out here.
Pardon me, Chair, that's 3 minutes.
Okay, I'll give up. The last one is Dutch Heritage Gardens. Yes, it's commercial. There's semis going every day. So now I've got semis during the day, and I've got every weekend. Now I've got wedding parties. So it's a challenging situation for me. 25-year veteran, my dream was to move out to the country and live in a quiet agricultural space where I could, raise kids and raise some animals. And now that's going to change. So that's my time. Thank you once again for your service. Yeah.
All right, at this time, I think we have, let's see here. On this list, I don't believe anybody else is actually speaking. Go ahead. Who's up? Come on up. Address, sir, please.
14001 South Delbert Road. Okay. We're about a mile north and on the Douglas County side. We're on a ranch that's been in the family for around 80 years. We have 160 that runs along South Delbert. The rest of the ranch is down over the edge of the bluff. We're in a hay business. We're in the cattle business. And we're out here for a way of life. We didn't want to give up that life. I've been in the city. I've lived in the city all my life until now. The rest of the family, sons and daughters, are also on the ranch now. My concern, other than the way of life and what we enjoy, we already took the brunt, or taking the brunt, of the greenhouse. These trucks go up and down that road fairly constantly. They're either box trucks or semis. It's also a shortcut. If you're coming over from Meridian on County Line and then turn north on Delbert, it's a shortcut over to Elbert. Zoom, zoom, zoom. I pulled out from my pasture today, and somebody came up behind me on my bumper. Of course, I stayed in the middle of the road. I wasn't going to get out of the way because I'm right at my mailbox. and I turned in. But that's not an unusual situation. The additional traffic on that road over and above the trucks, I don't know what percentage of the 150 are coming from the north, but there's certainly a large group coming from the south as well. The blade was out here today, in fact. Bladed that road. It's been about 6 months since it was bladed. We're not high on the list. And we have about 5 whoopers on that road. And I've seen water go over that road in 4 different places on a big storm. And what happens is that gravel all washes off, and so the county came in and put gravel with about that size rock in the gravel. Well, it washboards terribly. So now you go through those dips and your pickup just is rattling and so forth. What's it going to be like with half of the 150 people coming in addition to the trucks? That's my biggest concern. I spend an awful lot of time out on our property because a good share of it is timbered. And I walk that almost every day that I'm able to. And I wonder how many of the commissioners have driven that road and approached the hill that we call Brazelton or Georgia Bell's Hill. Mev and Georgia Bell, Brazelton.
Pardon me, Chair, that's 3 minutes.
We're up? Okay. All right, well, thank you. I hope you'd see our way somewhat.
Mr. Wilson, thank you. Next.
Hello, my name is Jan Mark. I live at 5500 South Russellville Road, and I used to live in their house on 18020 County Road 1. I kept the 120 acres surrounding that property. I used to have 160, and I kept the 120 that I may be moving back to that area depending on how busy Russellville gets in the future. And I would not want a wedding venue every weekend going on in my backyard. It was nice when I lived at that property because I used to walk from the house to the barn in my pajamas if I wanted to because nobody could see me out there. And having a public venue would take away a big share of the privacy that people enjoy out there. The other concern I have is, again, the fire, because there is no fire department nearby. I used to have people come and party on the rock outcropping out in the pasture there in the middle of the night, and they would walk into my pasture with cattle and shoot off fireworks. Now, if they're going to have a security team, they're obviously, they know that there could be an issue with drinking and everything else going on at parties and people smoking. And I'm not sure how you would keep track of people, even with a chain link fence, going out in the parking lot and flicking cigarettes out and everything else. And I still do run cattle on that property. I have concerns about my insurance, my liability, my exposure going up because it is attached to my property with cattle. There's also houses that are much less than a quarter mile away. There's 2 of them just to the north of where they're considering putting that. I don't know why those aren't showing up or being addressed, but there's 2 homes right over the hill. And it looks like from the map where you would have a commercial entrance is on a hill, a fairly steep hill that's treed. So that would be a concern for people turning in or pulling out, having an entrance right on a hill. What else? It's mostly the noise, the fire, danger, guests getting unruly, maybe going out in the pasture and trying to ride a cow at night, because I used to have people from town trying to do that. And like I say, it's a beautiful place to live because it is so quiet and peaceful and serene, and I just wouldn't want to see parties going on every weekend out there. I think that's about all I want to voice as a concern.
Go ahead, when you finished, I'll get back.
Let me think. Yeah, the security of the fire. I think that's it. But, yeah, I wouldn't be thrilled about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Question for Tom Guston again. Question for Danny. You said in your compatibility study that there might be a sound barrier built, or there was going to be one, or where would that be?
Okay, what we'll do is we got the question. Danny, when we come up, we'll add it here and you can answer that because you did address that in your presentation. You did. Okay, who's next on speaking? One? That's it? Okay. All right, at this time, I'll consider public comment session closed on this application. And now what we'll do is, there's a few questions. And Tom, I think yours was about the sound. So Danny, go ahead. I think you did address that.
Well, let's give the applicants a chance to respond to the public comment like we normally do.
So with the sound, our intention with the building was to have soundproof barrier inside the building. Obviously fencing, you can only do so much as a privacy fence on there. But Danny, if you can bring up where the parking lot's gonna be. Go ahead, next, go back. Okay, so you see where the X's are? That is where we would have a privacy fence. Eventually you're gonna have a 6-foot privacy fence. One is to keep the cars from being able to be seen from the venue. Two is to make sure that nobody crosses through that parking lot and over into anybody's property.
We have horses and cows as well. And so for security, for kids, anybody else, we will make sure, that's why we're having security. And most venues don't have security, they just don't. But we will, so nobody can cross into our animals. So, yeah. Jan's property, no.
So that's what our intention is for the sound and the noise of trying to keep the peace for everybody around.
Okay, the next one we had speak to roads issues. That's what I thought.
So we have trees that are in the growing phases right now that'll eventually, they're gonna get larger is what they're gonna do. And I can't tell you how fast they're gonna grow because I'm not an arborist. I don't know, what the lifespan of them are gonna be, but they are on a watering system, so they will be watered. But it just takes time for those to grow. It doesn't matter, if we put up a 20-foot fence, if you put trees in it, it's not gonna matter how much is gonna block the sound out. It's more of where's the sound gonna be? The sound's gonna be inside the building because it's gonna be separated from, our intention is to have you can get married in the front, you can get married over on the side depending on the view that you want. But the DJ and everybody is gonna be somewhere located towards the back of the building, and it's gonna be projected into the building, and when music is going, the intentions are to normally have the doors closed, so that way it's not interrupting everybody on the outside. People outside talking, you can't control people outside talking. I can hear our neighbors across the street when they're talking. I can hear your tractor running in the middle of our wedding venue when you knew we had it going on. So there's despise that it's gonna be going on with this, and we understand that, and we're prepared for it, but, you know, this is our dream, this is what we plan on doing. You know, we can say up to 150 people are gonna show. It may only be 100 people, it may only be 50 people. The traffic, you're gonna get a minimum of 2 people in a car that are gonna be showing up. So we're not gonna have hundreds and thousands of cars showing up. And people running into Jan's property, running into the property to the north is not gonna happen because you've got such a far span that you've gotta get up to the north, to the south, and to the east of us, and to the west. Our entrance, we're meeting with the Road and Bridge. If we get approved on this, we will be meeting with them to go over where the best idea is to put the entrance and the exit of the entrance. So this is just preliminary right now. They may tell us, hey, you need to shift it down a little bit more, you may need to shift it up a little bit more. That's the process that we're gonna have with them once we get to the point of saying this is where everything's gonna be laid out, okay? This was a site plan that we had to do for you guys for our application. And to bring up the other thing about the 2 houses that are up to the north of us, the only reason why they didn't show up is because they are on the property that is listed as an LLC ranch company that is based out of Wyoming. So that's where our letter went to notify them of this meetings that are going on today. Those people, their addresses don't pop up. It pops up as one giant ranch is what it pops up as, and that's where it goes to. That's why they were not notified of that situation.
Also, I just want to let you guys know that I did drive down the street. I did record. I could barely even hear, like, the edge of my property. I could barely hear the music. And it was pretty loud. The DJ was inside the building. So, you know, we wanted to make sure that we got that also. Because we don't want to disturb our neighbors. We really don't. Most weddings go to 11 or 12. We are in an unincorporated area. I could literally run that music till 3 a.m. I'm not built that way. I'm not going to do that with our neighbors. So that's why we chose to do, you know, close it down at 9 p.m. So.
Okay, let's see, we had roads. Danny, I think you did want to say something about.
So the sound and the noise is obviously the biggest concern, and the applicants were committed by putting the DJ indoors. That's the main noise mitigation. Weddings themselves, the ceremonies, they could be outdoors. I don't think that type of noise would be bothersome, but that, you know, everybody can have their opinion on what bothers them, so.
And we have a big family. This is a concern of ours. We have a big family. We're really big with the real estate community in Colorado Springs. He's also a realtor. I'm a mortgage lender. We have a lot of people that we're connected to. I mean, what if I just wanted to have a barbecue? That's our biggest concern. Like, it's like we can't have 20 to 30 people on our property without some concern, and I get that, but that's still our property. Our family's pretty big. We just had a birthday party for our twin grandbabies, and we had probably 25, 30 people. The entire time, I was worried about having those people, my family, at our home. So we understand, we're sympathetic, and we're doing everything that we possibly can to mitigate their concerns.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. Let's see another comment, but I heard doesn't fit. Only question I have, how many of these are operational in the county?
How many wedding venues are operational?
Or venues?
Venues?
'Cause I know, I
I
don't know how
know
many.
Messer, Redbird, Bonnie Blues, Running Creek Manor.
This past Elbert?
Yeah, what's that? Flying Horse. So it's got to be.
There's a bunch, there's one right across the line in Douglas. Yeah, okay.
Flying Horse is up for auction though. So that's probably not gonna be going through very much longer.
You know, I'm just thinking too, the point is that there's quite a few of these wedding venues.
Yep.
And we have approved them coming through. So, at this point, what we're gonna do is go around the board here and have questions from our board. So go ahead.
Pardon me, Commissioner, could you get the microphone? Thank you.
I'm very sensitive to the, it's on, to the noise and the traffic for the other neighbors. I really get that, but I also get having your property and wanting to do something on it. So now see what you did, Kevin? So I think, like, you guys have other things that you're involved in, other money makers or whatever you want to call it. This isn't going to be your only source of income, right?
So I got 30 years in the fire service. I'm actually close to being retirement. I've got basically 2 years left and I'm done. Real estate, everybody knows real estate's doing this number right now. Is it something that I'm going to probably continue to do? I may just do it on the side, but yes, eventually the wedding venue could potentially support our family. We just don't know. It can, we could have a couple events here and there over the course of the couple years, or in 5-10 years, we could be flying off the Richter scale and having a wedding every weekend to a weekend. We just don't know. It depends on what people are looking for and where they want to be.
Well, it is very hard to find somewhere that you can go that's not $25,000. I have 3 nieces getting married this year. And so there is that too. But I think if you could just be really cognizant of the neighbors, and really try to work through some of those mitigating things. I mean, it would go a long ways, and because you always need your neighbors. It's important to be neighborly. It really is. So I would hope that you would do everything you could to mitigate that. And I don't know. I've wanted to have my own wedding venue for many years, but I would just had too many other irons in the fire. So I understand the dream of doing it.
I don't have a whole lot to say. It sounds very thought out. And Lord knows this county needs a little more revenue here and there. I see nothing wrong with that. I just went through 4 weddings this year. It's the year of the weddings for me. So I know about the expense. Lucky for me, I had to travel all the way to New York for my daughter's wedding. But I did 3 around here, and there's still not enough venues, believe it or not, to accommodate weddings. So if there's one that's more reasonable, I see no harm in it. That's all I got to say. And it sounds like you've really tried to cover all the bases. I understand the concerns of the neighbors. Lord knows I live in a smaller neighborhood, and we live with the giant mariachi band thing that happens once a year down the street. It goes on till 2 in the morning. But that's life in the neighborhood.
So I usually have a couple questions. So start with the building that you're putting up there, the 4160 square feet with the sound barriers. What you mentioned about 150 people. Is that code for 150? Will 4,160 feet carry 150 people?
If you go and look at what it takes for each person to be comfortable in a building, they say anywhere from 6 to 8 feet per square foot per person. Okay, and as it comes down, and if you start looking at the fire code aspect of it, I don't know what Elbert County's fire codes are because it's not my jurisdiction. So I do know that the building that we are looking at could literally hold up to almost 300 people if we wanted to. We're not going to be doing 300 people in there. Like we said, it's only about 150, or what the parking lot can allow is all we would do.
Yeah, I did the math. You can have, if you assume 2 people per car, on average, 136, 272 people. max, based on that.
Yep. And we would have contracts that state that, you know, this is all we're gonna allow, because obviously it's the seating that's gonna be another thing, because we've gotta purchase all that and have that ready to go for them. And if we get somebody that says, hey, we got 400 people coming, it's like, oh, time out, we can't do this for you. I'm sorry, you gotta find somewhere else to do it, or cut back your guest party. Like the wedding that we just had, they were expecting almost 200 people, and we said, time out, can't do it. We had them come out, take a look at our garage that we base it in. They had it set up for a maximum of 150 people. And on an average, if you plan on, we'll say 150 people, you're only gonna get about 3/4 of those people that are gonna show anyways. So they actually only had 96 people that showed up to that wedding venue. So we had plenty of room. We were able to keep the doors closed at times. Got a little warm, so we opened them up, closed them back down when we needed to, so.
Okay. And then the opening on the building, is it kind of facing away from the neighbor's property that's?
So so where it says the 20-foot wide mezzanine right there.
Right.
So it's gonna be, the building's gonna look, it's got the gambrel roof to it. So when you look out the window, you're gonna be looking straight at Pikes Peak, okay? You can see what they have is like a little lean-to on their property, on the Guston's property. You can see just a little bit of a lean-to and a power pole is all you can see. You cannot see their house, it's down off the backside of the hill, okay? And you're looking straight out at trees, then you're looking straight at Pikes Peak. The doors to the right on the other side are actually gonna be looking out towards the Continental Divide that's out there, and you're not looking in at anybody's house except for the big house that's over in Douglas County sitting on top of the hill. That's the only house that you can see out there.
So, and then you mentioned security a minute ago. Both the security company, you also mentioned some security systems.
We have
cameras
cameras throughout the property. There are obviously notifications that the property is recorded 24/7.
Two other quick questions. You mentioned in your write-up that you'd be enforcing ride sharing, or what's the word I'm looking for? Not ride sharing, but somebody gets drunk. Ubers or
Designated driver.
designated driver.
Being a firefighter, seeing fatalities with motor vehicle accidents and drinking, it's one thing that I will not tolerate. If I see somebody that's, you know, 1 or 2 beers, I understand people, you can drive sober with 1 or 2 beers, but somebody just getting annihilated, tipping the bottle back left and right, and completely inebriated, that's where I'm gonna draw the line and be like, no, you're not driving. If I have to step in, being my property, which I hope I don't have to, stepping in and taking the keys from them and turning them over to have somebody else drive them or set them up with their own rideshare designated driver to take them home. That's what we plan on doing, and I understand the fencing issue that he's been running into. That can happen during the winter time. It can happen during the rain, that anybody drives around that corner, they're gonna slide through it. And then I've driven through it. I drive slow enough. I've been on dirt roads my whole life, but it's one of those things. It's a risk that you take living on a corner of 2 streets.
Okay. And then the security aspects of this will be such that they'll be able to enforce the ride share or the you know, phone a friend.
Yep.
Okay. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
I just have a couple of things. One, you're only planning on 3 to 4 a month? Okay, I mean, that's pretty limited.
Well,
It's more of a projection right now is what we're.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Getting up and going, but, you know, there could be a chance that we could do, you know, 4 to 6 a month. We don't know. We can't
We will
give those
cap it, though.
conclusive numbers, but
No,
we put a cap.
I understand that. I think that's really a minimum, not a minimum, but I mean, that's not a lot of venue, not a lot of use, let's put it that way. Okay, 3 to 4 is minimal, I think. Not that you're going to plan to have more, but I mean, it's not a great deal of venue usage. But I think that you guys have thought this out very well. It's you've done a lot, and you've considered the neighbors. So that's a big plus. It's not often we see that. So, but we appreciate that. So.
At this point, Elbert County kind of prides itself on having somebody be able to do something with their property they'd like to do. We're a big believer in property rights. That's every which way. One of the examples of that, I think you can look to your, let's see, it would be southeast. I think you can see Kelly Air Park. You got a runway out there. Well, there is an air, actually an air park out there, and that was approved many years ago. So anyway,
About 5 miles north of.
yeah, it's, yeah, I don't know if they can see it though, can they? No, they probably couldn't, no. But that's an example. There is an air park out there, and a pretty successful air park, and a real nice area, so. And the other part is that I don't know how many of these have come before us. Well, I don't know about you folks, but I know, I have to say there's 6 or 7 that I've heard in my time in the county. So, and we've actually approved them all. And to date, and I can tell all of you folks that are concerned about things, is that, you know, we haven't had a lot of issues with people. It seems that everybody has kind of worked out the issues between neighbors, between everybody. And so that's my experience. So the other thing is, you're talking about the roads, the issue with the roads. So if we go around whatever the vote is, but if they do come out, when Elbert County comes out to review your driveway, because they're gonna have to give you a driveway permit or enhance that, and they're probably gonna look at, you know, traffic patterns and stuff like that, you should request additional service to those areas. Okay, and I would recommend that from everybody out there, because that's someone's route, and they can add more trips on that route. So if you could, that is something, and I would recommend that to everybody, because I'll tell you that I'm not sure what County Road 5 is a tough road, and that runs all the way out. So it is. There's roads out there, and they do need more grader work. They do, and I would request that.
And we've had that conversation with I forgot the Roadworks.
Okay.
J-Wall.
We had a talk with him about trying to get graders out there, but with not having many graders, workers to be able to plow the roads, they try to get to it when they can. I actually called Douglas County because, you know, Douglas County has a South Elbert road address. Elbert County has the county road address, and they didn't even know that South Elbert Road existed in their county. So there was a confusion there, and then we talked to him about the County Line Road, which is County Road 74, I believe is what it is.
Yeah.
Plowing that, and they said they only stop right at the corner of County Road 1 and County Road 74. That's Douglas and Elbert County's responsibility. So that's for them to figure out. So we see them come up now, like you said that they just came out today to plow. I'm supposed to be on duty tonight, but took off so I could be here for this. But they came out today, and I've seen them come out a couple times, but they said we could work with something, but we just can't call them the day before a wedding and say, hey, we got a wedding coming up.
No.
So.
But they need to kick the grader operation up at that area.
Yeah, and his biggest complaint was obviously the employees.
They are short employees now. Yes, they are. Okay.
So Danny, I wanted to also say something too, so that the public at large would hear. With all the weddings that we've been having recently in the last 2 years and next year, I mean, we've got weddings stacked up like crazy for next year. I don't know what happened, but it's been unusual to me, but most of these young kids, they don't want a big wedding. They don't want a lot of people. So, I mean, I think that there's 150 people at a wedding right now is kind of a lot, really, because most of these kids they don't want to spend all that extra money. They want to save it. So I don't think the neighbors are going to have quite as much traffic as they think. I mean, I think it'll be smaller weddings, and if you have smaller weddings, you'll have more frequent weddings. So, I wish you luck.
Okay. Motion.
I'll make a motion that I move that the Planning Commission recommend approval to the Board of County Commissioners on case number SUR 2024-1802.
Just a quick question before we shift. Danny, does that include the road and bridge stipulation?
Yes.
Yes, with the letter of acknowledgement for the road use.
Okay, thanks. I just want to make sure that was clear.
Yeah, to be recorded.
I'll be seconding that.
You can second. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Pass.
thank you, folks.
Good evening.
8:15. Okay, we'll get started with the next one. Okay, on to the next one. We're looking at our next application is Tailwind Crossing Rezone. And who will be, you too, Danny? Okay, all right.
All right, thank you, Planning Commission. This presentation will be regarding the Tailwind Crossing Rezone, case RZ 2023-6236. The request here is a rezoning of approximately 176 acres from agriculture to residential agriculture. The action will be a Planning Commission recommendation, which will be presented to the Board of County Commissioners. The location for this proposal is 6236 County Road 132 in Elizabeth, Colorado 80107. The applicant and owner of the property is Steve McAnally, IPA Development Incorporated, and the applicant representative who will also be answering questions is Grace Erickson with Providence Consulting. The process for this started back in November of last year with the pre-application meeting. There was a community meeting February 13th of this year. The applicant submitted their application on June 22nd. Here we are today, October 15th, for Planning Commission, and the Board of County Commissioners date is set for October 13th. All public hearings must be noticed with a 14-day advance notice with posting in Ranchland News, quarter-mile radius mailings, and an on-site sign posting. The location for this project is between Elizabeth and Kiowa. It's located about 1.5 miles south of Highway 86 and about 1.5 miles east of County Road 1721. Here is a look at the zoning map. Directly to the south is the Arrowhead subdivision with 5-acre lots. That is zoned RA1. To the north is a 40-acre agricultural property with a residence. To the east is agriculture and residential. Agriculture 1 with a 40-acre property and Circle Hill subdivision with 5-acre lots. To the west are 2 lots that are each approximately 60 acres, each with agricultural land uses. Here is another look at the property. You can see from the previous one, there's the flood hazard area that follows that western property, a third of the western property. Decommissioned airstrip can be seen here also. And there's 2 existing residences on the property. During community meeting and public comment, a few things came up. One was a comment from the mineral rights owner, concerned that the change in zoning will lessen the value of the property's underlying mineral deposits. It's important to note that minor oil and gas facilities are permitted as a use by right in land zoned agriculture and on land zoned residential agriculture. It's also important to note that major oil and gas facilities are permitted through this special use by review process in both agriculture and residential agriculture. Mining is permitted through SUR in agriculture, Agriculture 2, and Residential Agriculture 1, but is prohibited in the residential agriculture zone, oddly enough. And Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners can impose additional requirements or special considerations considering mining. All requirements by the state of Colorado must be met. Other concerns from community meeting and public comments included traffic, water supply issue with drilling additional wells, dust during construction, impact on neighboring property values, flooding, and the type of users who might use the open space. At this time, there is no platting, so that open space has not been defined, though the applicant's intent would be to use some of that flood hazard area as open space. During the referral process, the applicant acknowledged and resolved all comments raised through several Elbert County offices, the Elizabeth Fire Protection District, Elizabeth School District, Environmental Agriculture Program Technical Lead, District Plans for Colorado Department of Local Affairs, Lumen, Core Electric, Kiowa Conservation District, Colorado Geological Survey, and the Colorado Division of Water Resources. For rezonings, applications are judged on 6 criteria through Article 3C4 of our zoning regulations. The Planning Commission are to consider these 6 criteria in their review of applications. A, whether the proposed rezoning conforms to and is generally consistent with the goals of the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. This proposal generally conforms to and is consistent with the goals of the comprehensive plan. The development is consistent with the goals for residential development and will cover the costs of on-site roads and utilities. The development is in an existing utility corridor and just over 1 mile from a paved road. The development satisfied the needs of the referral agencies and will pay all associated impact fees during the subdivision and at the time of building permit. Again, this is just for the rezoning. The development will also have to provide a public land dedication or cash in lieu of open space, which will be determined at the time of subdivision. This development is aligned with the community resources topic of the comprehensive plan that states new development shall conform to state laws covering domestic water supply and septic systems. The proposal complies with that policy and will have individual septic systems which will have to be permitted by Elbert County Public Health. It will also have a water supply that meets Elbert County subdivision regulation requirements for a 300-year water supply. B, whether the proposed rezoning is compatible with surrounding land uses. The purpose of the residential agricultural context is to promote low to medium density residential development while preserving working agricultural lands. The subject property is in an area that has a mix of agriculture and residential land uses and varying lot sizes. There are 5-acre lots and 60-acre lots directly surrounding the lot. The area is a mix of large agriculture and residential, along with smaller lot residential. This rezoning to residential agriculture should not negatively impact the surrounding land. C, whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact the provision of public services. This development will have to provide a private road to serve the interior lots. At this time, that development is not in place and there are no lots, though there will also be no adverse impact to public services in the area. The roads and driveway entrances will have to be constructed to Elbert County Public Works standards. Approval of a replacement plan will be required for water, and it will need to conform to our 300-year water rule. D, whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact the environment. This rezoning should not adversely impact the environment, and building permit review and septic review should identify any site-specific environmental factors upon development of the property. The development will also have to work with local topography with no building areas with areas of 20% or greater slope. The development will also need to allocate a no-build zone for the area impacted by the designated floodplain and work with the county to satisfy open space requirements at the time of subdivision. E, whether the proposed rezoning would create an unreasonable traffic congestion or burden existing road system without improvement. The addition of these proposed lots are not believed to create unreasonable traffic burdens to the existing road system. Our Public Works Department did not have any issues with the rezoning and will review the subdivision plans when the development details are available. F, whether the proposed rezoning will not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the inhabitants of Elbert County. This proposed rezoning to residential agriculture will not be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. The development conforms well with the agriculture and residential mix in the area. The rezoning exhibit identified the flood hazard zone and the most densely treed portions of the property. These areas should be protected from development during the subdivision of the property. Planning Department staff finds the following. The proposed rezoning is in general conformance with the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. The proposed rezoning meets the criteria for approval for Elbert County zoning regulations. The proposed rezoning meets requirements for conventional residential development. The proposed rezoning will not significantly impact the health, safety, and well-being of the residents and landowners in the surrounding area. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval for the Tailwind Crossing rezone case RZ 2023-6236, which is a rezoning from agriculture to residential agriculture, subject to the following conditions. The applicant will be required to remove the public hearing sign within 7 days of a decision by the Board of County Commissioner. The rezoning shall not become effective until all fees are paid, conditions of approval are met, and exhibits are recorded, and recordation of all appropriate documentation should occur within 180 days of the Board of County Commissioners' approval. Thank you for your time, and I'll answer any questions that you might have for me. Thank you.
All right, I think we have Grace Erickson, correct? Representing the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Grace Erickson, Providence Consulting Applicant Representative, and also present this evening is IPA Development, Inc., owner and applicant, and James Tilton, legal counsel for the applicant. Danny gave a great and thorough overview of the proposed rezone. I'm not going to reiterate everything that Danny presented, but simply stated, we are looking to rezone the parcel from agricultural to agricultural residential. Initially, higher density was examined before we started the application process. My client opted for 10-acre lot minimum size as opposed to anything smaller. And then we took a couple zoning districts to the community meeting, agricultural, residential, and residential agricultural. Due to the feedback we received, we opted for the residential agricultural district. As Danny mentioned, subdivision application would come at a later date. There are some details in the packet regarding public comment, quite a few pages that actually, where we did address some of the concerns regarding future subdivision, but this evening we are simply proposing to rezone the property. And that's all I have for the moment.
Thank you. Okay, and what you said there at the last, this hearing is strictly looking at the rezone. Okay, you will be coming forward at preliminary plat.
Yep, preliminary plat and final plat.
Okay, and how long do you expect that will be?
I believe we'll be moving forward with it this upcoming year. But as the commissioners know and the staff knows, it takes a while to compile those applications. So you won't see us back here again for at least another year.
Okay, and when you come forward with your preliminary plat, you will have a design of your area. It will show roads. You will present traffic studies. You will present civil drawings. Everything in the packet.
Now, we
be
do
there.
have preliminary traffic, a preliminary traffic analysis. We do have a preliminary drainage study, although it's not based on, it's very preliminary.
It's not based on anything until
Yes,
you get.
there's going to be quite a bit of level of detail associated with this preliminary plat and final plat,
Okay.
which is why we decided to slow it down, especially considering the public feedback we received. Slow it down, separate it out, take a little more time on it.
Okay. Thank you. That's what I wanted to relate to everybody out here. You are going to see this again. Okay, so at this point, again, what we are hearing, we are just strictly looking at rezoning this property. So, public comment. I have a list up here.
Yeah. Can somebody shut that door?
Oh, is something going on out there, Van?
They're gone now.
Oh, okay.
I would leave it open.
Okay. Did have a number of people sign up to speak? Norm Bass? Yes.
Wilcoxes. My name's Norm Bass. My address is 34250 County Road 25. And I realize this may be a little bit premature, but really it's a question. I mean, based on the information we were provided at the one of the initial meetings, I would estimate, and I guess the young lady could confirm this, but if they've done the traffic study, my question is, at what point does the number of traffic trips per day be considered an impact?
That preliminary plat is when that's all determined.
But we're talking about, I mean, they've already done the preliminary traffic thing. We're looking at 100 additional trips minimum per day on 25.
Sir? We don't know
Premature?
the housing count.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And until we know a housing count, the development process, the road configuration, or anything else, pretty much it's hard to do.
But all right. So one final question. But the gentleman over here said that that they've already decided that the traffic would not impact the road.
You were exactly right, and I wish that was not in the presentation because we have no clue. Really, we don't. Until a traffic study is actually completed off what's in the development, what is platted, we will not know. And then they will take a traffic study of what is platted, and then we will determine what traffic amounts that road can take. Okay? Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm sorry. Yeah, I wish you would answer more of your questions, I really do. Okay, we have Christy O'Neill.
Pardon me, Chair. I understand we have an announcement to make. License plate AYR R51 Colorado. If you could come forward to this gentleman, an Explorer. It's been hit.
I tapped your license plate when I was backing up.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll talk about it later. This is more important.
Okay.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Christy O'Neill. Can you, okay, your mic, is it on now?
Yes,
Okay.
I've just turned it up a little bit more. Just need her name and address.
Usually louder in the morning. Sorry. Okay, so I am directly west of the property in question, the 176 acres. It's 5900 McCart Ranch Circle. And could we show yeah, that one right there. So most of my eastern border is along the new proposed rezoning. My concerns, which you guys are talking about tonight, have pretty much been addressed. But I'd like to speak about the future if it is allowed to be rezoned, if that's okay. Is that okay? So currently, the property that I live on doesn't have any improvements on it, so it's just land, and we'll be going through the building process. But currently, I live in an agricultural property with residential property behind me. I've got multiple houses, and it's a very different situation having agricultural property, agricultural animals, and then having the normal town people, which I don't have any problem with them. It's just a different way of life. Like the lady back here who's gone has brought off, I hadn't even thought of that, but they light off fireworks every 4th of July, even though they're not supposed to go off the ground. That's one concern. I have people hitting golf balls into my property with my animals. I have people flying drones over. I have all kinds of stuff like that going on, and the list goes on. My concern is if it's allowed to be rezoned, that not only are you going to have possibly this stuff happening, but where the proposed open space is adjacent to my property. So instead of 1 or 2 neighbors, like in the property south of us, I'm going to have 14 different, if it's the 10-acre zoned properties, in the open space right next to mine doing whatever they will. Dogs running at large, children going over, petting the animals, feeding the horses, making them nip, all kinds of stuff. I purchased this property because it is similar, well, it's 63 acres, and it was next to a 176-acre parcel. It dramatically changes it to 14 families and of how many kids, whatever, teenagers, whatever they have right adjacent to the property. So my concern has been addressed by you guys, by pretty much what all of you said. The harmony, the rural harmony that it has, the increased traffic, what it does to property values, when it goes to the next stage, what kind of covenants are going to be there? Are they going to be moving in? Are there going to be limitations? Is there going to be a way that dogs at large cannot run into the to the agricultural property? I mean, what are they doing for that? And then also the environmental study. It is a washout area or wet zone during part of it, and you do have a lot of deer and other wildlife that's in the area, and that could be impacted. Is it zoning? Are they going to be shooting off, firearms in that acres? What is Elbert County's rules on that? So those are my questions, and if you guys have answers, that'd be great to hear. Thank you.
I actually don't believe anybody is actually prepared to answer any of those questions because we really don't know the layout of the development. And I know there are open space requirements, and I would suggest that possibly be a little careful because we don't know the layout. We don't know where the open space is going to be. You don't know.
Well, Danny, just in looking at this, okay, given the fact that the creek runs down on that side of the property,
yeah,
that's probably got to be the open space, right?
That's going to be the open space.
It has to be, yeah.
Could be, but
we
have no clue. And but I will tell you, your comments and your questions come up at every land application we have, and they come up a preliminary plat. So every one of your every one of your questions will be answered. Okay. That help over there? Next, we have Jan Mark. Oh, previous one. Oh, that's right. Danny, thank you. Yeah, I have her on my other list. Okay, we have Derek Murray.
Derek Murphy, 6188 Arrowhead Trail. Obviously, they're on the loop just south of the proposed property there. Thank you. I'll try and be extremely swift. I know if we're still in that 3-minute time frame. My main concerns, I'm a young man, obviously, not quite as experienced in life as some of the people in this room, is taxes. This is not going to be some shoehorn RV park here. These are going to be multi-million-dollar houses, increasing tax values, which is great for people that are looking to cash out and move on. I'm not. I've moved here almost a decade ago, moving on year 8, trying to establish a place for my family to just our last house. Moving these houses into this neighborhood, A, is going to increase our taxes. Where are they getting their water from? Water is always a concern. No one's brought it up yet, right? I know I'm going on like every other thing that you guys have shoehorned through over the years. So we have property taxes, we have water, traffic. Okay, so how many of you live near the area? How many of you have been near this area? You've driven there recently. So you know that it's going to take a monumental amount of heavy equipment to move all that earth around, because there's no way in hell you're moving 10 properties there without moving tons of dirt around, right? I get it. This is someone's property. They bought a developer that doesn't live here. It's not going to affect them. Will line their pockets. But, you know, just with exception of the young lady, if anyone else here on our team, who else here is here to oppose this? I mean, no one here wants this. Like, I get it. This is someone's property. We moved out here to be in the middle of nowhere, and all we've seen over the last near decade now is just houses and neighborhoods shoehorned in. No infrastructure, no roads, empty shelves. Great, we have a Breaks Plus and McDonald's. That's neat. This is absolutely not okay. It's affecting our way of life, whether it just be the traffic, the noise pollution, the light pollution, the nails and tires, which I know you guys don't care about. I get it, you've been down there, but no one lives down there. I drive 60 miles a day for work. I come home and I work 5 to 10 hours at night. And I'm sorry, this is just my concerns right now, and this is just me saying this, but it's probably going, you know, in one ear and out the other, but enough is enough. We've already got all these little neighborhoods that we put up all the way to Spring Valley Ranch, all these other developers, no names to be dropped or anything like that, but I appreciate the fact that we're thinking, oh, hey, these are just 10-acre lots. It's smaller, it's okay. It's not. It's literally destroying our way of life. And people that have relocated out here. This is supposed to be my last house. I get it. I'm a young man. I'm only 46 years old. I've lived out for coming on year 8. And I'm raising 2 teenage daughters, an older son, my wife, when we have animals and my neighbors. If you hear my birds, I apologize. But that's just not the way of life out here. Plain and simple. And I just wanted to kind of vent to you guys about that. Whether it goes in one ear or not the other, like I said, so be it. It happens.
Pardon me, Chair, that's 3 minutes.
Glad you counted me out on that one, so appreciate it. Please. I'll make it brief. Go ahead.
It really isn't. It really is. We'll have time to ask, but. No, pretty much go over the same thing that your concerns. I hope you come back to the. I hope you will come back to the preliminary plat hearing, and maybe we can answer some of the questions that you have.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Richard Wilson. He spoke to it, the other one. Thanks. David Gordon.
From the looks of your faces, this is a very
Pardon me, please, your name and address?
difficult thing to keep doing. David Gordone, 6156 Arrowhead Trail. So I know you guys see this all the time, and I heard something about revenue. You know, we need more revenue. You're looking at me like that's disturbing or something, but you know, this county, a lot of people living out here are ranchers, and a lot of people came out here for the peace and quiet. You know, it's nice to see that there's families that, like myself, were, you know, 26 years of active duty, and I finally retire. I found a nice little quiet place. I could have bought a ranch, but I decided I would keep the footprint down. But now I kind of wish I had done that, because I'd have a larger boundary. You know, I wouldn't have all these people shoehorning in, as you had said. But I want to stick to the point, and that is the way of life. You know, we did think that this living out here was, you know, you have the peace and quiet, but you'd have to be delirious to think that at the pace we're going now, that things aren't going to get just out of control with just letting any developer come in and snatch up a piece of land. And, you know, you see it, prime real estate, capitalizing on the natural beauty. So you've got people that have got plenty of money, and they'll come out here, and, you know, it's the American dream. So it's good, you know, they can come out here and enjoy the peace and quiet, but it's no longer peace and quiet the more people come, you know. And if you look at it, you can see that. You can see how it went from peace and quiet to now you can notice an audible sound. Like today I was out looking at the road, and you could do a study now. You could determine how many vehicles would that road would take, because it's already kind of at its max capacity, considering the amount of maintenance being done. So what am I trying to say here is that we need to look further out, maybe 10 years, and see how this is going to impact people, especially fixed income people, retirees, military retirees, people who came out here for that peace and quiet. And it's, you know, it's not going to be that way much longer if we're eager to take in revenue. So that's all I have to say. I'm sure there's plenty of other issues that just go through the pipeline, and we just check them off and say, okay, now go ahead, put those $1 million homes in, jack up our taxes, and make it to where even the $300 a month change in your taxes can affect people's. You do understand what I'm saying, right? There's people out, let's say 10, 15 years down the road.
Pardon me,
they're on
that's 3
fixed
minutes.
incomes. So you're looking at me like this is bizarre, but it's not.
We've had two comments about taxes, and I might speak a little to that, so you kind of get a view of that, because that's kind of, I haven't heard that.
Well, the taxes are really going to be a problem.
No, they're not.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
Sir, and I'll kind of answer your question, but 3 minutes is done. Let me go on with that, and I will talk about taxes a little bit, because that is a question that's outside that truly you might like some information on.
If I could just say one more thing. The taxes, it seems like you would want to coordinate or talk to that side of this whole thing. You know, you guys do get to talk to each other, don't you? And say, hey, let's look at how these taxes are incrementally going up.
If you're going to
Okay,
continue
sir.
to speak, you need to be at the mic.
Yeah, we're good. Okay, who's next? I'll try to answer your question on taxes, sir. Who's next? Anybody else? Sir, please.
I didn't sign up, but
No, that's what I'm asking, because I'm done with the list, so.
Greg Gustafson, 6233 Arrowhead Trail. I would be sharing a fence line with the proposed community, but I think there's a component that has not been discussed. My wife is a school teacher. I'm not a lawyer or a doctor. I'm on a pretty tight budget, but there's a component that hasn't been discussed is fire, schools, and law enforcement are all at capacity. How do I know this? I'm on Sheriff Norton's Citizen Advisory Council. I hear it every month across the street. The problems that this is occurring in this county because of the influx
that's drawing in crime from the city? Shit, we saw it, pardon me, we saw it here today. We saw an incident. But there's no infrastructure, schools, fire, law enforcement, taxes. I might be priced out myself, you know? It's a concern. Roads, concern. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Hey, any more? Please.
Okay, I wrote it down, but my name is Isabel Merritt, and I live at 5905 McCart. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but I just have one question, which is around the zoning. I guess my question is, if tonight passes to go from agriculture to RA, does that have any downstream effects on making it more likely to pass things in the future, meaning that items A through F that we went through and Danny suggested were all mitigated? I don't know how you can really answer that without knowing the more detail of the subdivision. So that's kind of what I'm asking is like, does passing this then have any impact on like going back to the items A through F and actually making sure that they are mitigated and resolved?
Okay, so you got the question. All right, let me see if we have any other public comment, and we will answer your question. Okay? Isabel Merritt, where did you live? Did you put your address down? Okay, thank you. All right. Any other comments? We'll speak to that. Okay, so Danny, go ahead and address the her question there.
So with rezoning, our regulations require that there's an intent behind the rezoning. So the intent with the rezoning, which the applicant has clarified, would be a maximum of 14 residential lots. Now, we have to have that intent because without an intent for zoning, it would leave more questions unanswered. You wouldn't be able to do things like preliminary traffic studies if you didn't have different numbers like that. So the maximum number of lots with this proposed rezoning would be 14 lots. So we look at it with, some things are more difficult to address without the platting. And they'll have to be addressed in further detail, but we do need a background of what we're looking at to determine if this is a reasonable place to rezone. Yeah. That's a level of detail that they have to provide for us to be able to address some of these questions, yeah.
Go ahead. Please.
Ryan Merritt, 5905 McCart as well. I just want to make sure I super understand that. So, Mr. Chairman, you have emphasized we are voting specifically
On the rezone.
on the rezoning. But in order to do that, the approval criteria, that A through F, one of those, if, for example, is that there's no adverse impact on the environment, on the folks that live there, et cetera. And I think, Danny, what you just said is that is actually based on 14 homes. Like, I'm trying to decouple those two things, but it feels very intertwined.
That is confusing, and that is why some of the information on there is premature.
Okay.
Because we do not know exactly what the layout's going to be. Pretty much, we don't know a lot about it at all.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
But, and all those statements on there, okay, were just essentially, I don't know what term to use, but we can't validate all those statements until we actually have more information.
Right, and I agree with that. So,
okay.
Yep. So to confirm, when you all are casting your votes tonight, you're specifically casting a vote on the rezoning and whether changing from ag to RA impacts that A through F.
So here's what, your question comes down to, if we don't pass the rezone, does the application go on?
Well, will, yes.
Yeah, come on.
Yes, ultimately it
All
does,
right.
yes.
No. If we don't pass it, well, we don't mean anything. We could say all no here across the board. It's going to go before the BOCC, and all we do is recommend.
We mean something.
Oh, yeah, yes, well, we recommend something to the board, okay? But we could all vote no, it's gonna go to the board. A decision is not made until the BOCC makes the decision on the zoning. Okay, but if the zoning is turned down at the BOCC, then the application will not go forward.
Okay, but you are casting your vote on just the rezone?
Just the
Totally
rezone.
independent of the 14 homes?
Yes.
20 homes, whatever that
All
is?
we're looking at, because, and this is really why I kind of want to guard everybody from getting involved in this, because truly, we got people coming before us.
Yep.
They want to change the zoning from agriculture to RA.
Yep.
Okay, that's what we're looking at. That's all we're looking at tonight. And they need a little bit more information so they know further on what's going to happen. Because they're going to have to start preparing for the preliminary plat. Same with your applicant or your representative back there. They're going to have to start planning for the preliminary plat, which then they're going to have to go through a whole assortment of references, of testing, of analysis.
Danny, can we get back?
There's going to be a lot. Yes, we will.
Okay, I appreciate the answer.
Okay? All right, now. Yes. You know, it's getting kind of out of hand a little, but go ahead.
Well, Danny, I know you're involved in a lot of things, so my name's John Kearns, as you know, and I'm on Arrowhead Trail, 6414 Arrowhead Trail. And I just want to make it clear that this is not the only redevelopment rezoning on 25, 132, and 27. There are at least two others. So this is not just tailwind crossing we're talking when we're talking traffic, when we're talking bad roads, poorly maintained roads, water. We're talking another County Road 25's rezoning, County Road 128's rezoning. So my point is, I would like this board to at least acknowledge when you talk to the commissioners that this is one of many rezoning, and that's all I have to say. So, thank you, Danny.
Point here, okay? We don't talk to the commissioners.
You don't talk to?
No.
Do you talk to each other?
We don't. We recommend something and that's.
Well, when you recommend it, then keep in mind that it is not the only rezoning on the roads. So, thank you for your time.
Okay. All right, folks, at this point, what we're going to do, I do want to answer one more question.
Hang on, Grace
Hey.
needs to speak, yes.
Yes, you do. I do want to answer the one question on taxes, though. Two comments here, how it's going to increase your taxes. It is not going to increase your taxes. It will not. Your tax value is based off your actual value based on your assessed value based on the taxing rate. That comes from, that comes the value of your property specific. Every 2 years, it's reassessed, and it is based on your property and your property evaluation only. Okay, now what comes in next to you?
Real estate resale part of that assessment?
Okay, and I will go on. Resales in that area are related to your tax value, yes. But it has to be, but they won't, okay, sir. But sir, they will not, and please sit down, if they will not take
and base an appraisal on your property off those homes next to you. They won't because they don't fit the criteria. Your home probably is. They'll do a like-to-like assessment. Your property tax value will probably not change much because, well, mine has too.
Can I speak for 1 minute?
Okay, go ahead.
I'll try to tone it down. But I get pretty emotional about it because I could see how it just seems incrementally moving up. On that note, I tried to, what do you call it when you try to appeal?
Appeal your tax.
Because, so the house I bought, it's not been updated. And I bought it on a short sale. I was deployed. I just took the gamble. I got in there because it was the right mortgage payment for me, considering long-term. Anyway, fast forward, we've had several reassessments, and every time I tell them, look, I haven't updated this house, they just say, nope. So it's now up to $569,000. And then they just sold 2 houses down the hill from me for $750 and $720. And those were bidding wars from people that came in.
Yeah, come in.
You know what I mean?
And that's what pushes our value up.
That's what I'm trying to get across, is that what it's doing is it's disrupting the former economy or the former residents, as a whole.
Movement in our county is what's impacting it.
And so I was trying to get that across to you. I realize, you guys have to deal with a lot of stuff at these meetings, but that's what worries me, is that
No, but I want you to know that what's going in next to you will not have an impact on your taxes.
Because if it's
Okay, what's going on in the county could.
Because if they're million-plus homes, and I'm willing to bet that.
They're not going to relate that to your home.
Can we roll this back in,
So at this point, we're
please?
done.
This
So
is-
we're going to go on and we're going to take a break at this point?
Yeah.
Okay?
Just don't know that this is quite right modeling for assessment.
So if we could, let's take about a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back. And I think, Grace, I think you wanted to add some information. This is a...
Yeah. I don't know what else to do.
What else can you do?
I paid $1,600 for that car. Give me a break. God damn it. Thought I left the kid in there or something. Look, if you believe anything south of Highway 86 is taxes, I'll eat fried shit.
Yeah, I don't know any.
So, I'm 46, I've been here since I was 4. I know about taxes, yeah. They say taxes, and I don't like having fully automatic weapons. It's a whole different. I'm trying to.
All right, let's get started. Maybe we can finish. Thank you. Okay. I think we had, Grace, I think you wanted to speak.
Yes, thank you,
But some of the
Commissioners.
things.
I wanted to respond to the comments that were made on the application. So I can address some of these comments and concerns on a higher level because with the traditional rezone, you know, this is a statewide process. It happens all over the state. It's a rezone to a traditional straight zoning district. So when we're prepping our application and coordinating with staff, we're kind of looking at the broader overall zoning district. And while details are not at the precise level they will be at a preliminary plat or a final plat, we're still looking at it pretty high level to make sure that the zoning is appropriate for the parcel. So in regard to the traffic, I wanted to give a little bit of background on traffic. Yes, there's a preliminary study. It's going to need to be updated once there's a solid proposal. Now, based on feedback that we received, I had quite a few conversations with the Public Works Department, and I'll be following up with them again. But my first question for Public Works is always, what are your plans for County Road 25 and 132? And, you know, is this in a capital improvement plan? Do you have a pot of funds allocated towards these improvements? If we find a nexus for improvements, because I'll tell you, this parcel, however developed with this zoning district, whether it be one lot or 14, or even if it was, you know, 20, which it's not possible with this, but there's no nexus for those type of improvements by this property alone. So my discussion with Public Works was based on, are there any plans? And Public Works said, no, there are no plans for improving this road. Now, again, things could change, so I'm gonna follow up with them again. But the adjacent roadways, those are really dictated by the county. And so we'll be corresponding more with the county on what the plans are for those roadways and how any potential development impacts those roadways. In regard to the floodplain, there's comments on the floodplain. Again, it's not determined as zoning, but I can pretty solidly say that we're planning on preserving that and dedicating that as open space. There are a lot of federal requirements that go into developing floodplain, and that just does not make sense for this parcel with this level of development. There was a comment on firearms. We don't have anything regarding firearms proposed. Someone made a comment regarding the potential for firearms to be shot. I'll defer to the county on what your standards are for firearms. Nothing in regard to the RA zoning has anything to do with firearms. I don't know if that's permitted or how that would work, but that's definitely not the plan here. I'm not going to get into taxes. That was discussed. I will say this particular developer who is doing the rezone, if he moves forward with the development, is going to be finding a housing product through the covenants that is compatible with the surrounding housing. So it's going to be in a similar size, similar value range as what's already existing. That is the plan. Regarding lighting, this is already in your packet. This is already in the comments. We would be looking at dark sky compliant lighting, and that is just simply due to the comments that we've already received. So if this project does move forward, that is something that we're looking at doing. And there were comments on additional agencies such as the fire department and capacity and infrastructure. And I did want to note that we would anticipate any kind of development to pay its way with the additional impact fees. There are a lot of impact fees that get paid at building, and some even before building, that would account for those expenses beyond what the development will directly be providing. And water was brought up, so I am going to defer to legal counsel to address water and what was looked at for zoning.
Good evening. My name is James Tilton. I'm with the law firm of Monson, Cummins, Show and Farr. I'm going to speak as far as the groundwater for the Tailwind development. So this property was acquired by IPA Development Incorporated, and along with the property, they also acquired the groundwater rights, which is all the groundwater beneath the entire 176 acres. That groundwater was previously adjudicated through the basin determinations that were issued. This property is within what's called the Kiowa-Bija Designated Basin, which means it qualifies, and it's the Colorado Groundwater Commission that issues those determinations. So all the groundwater that's been reviewed and already found and declared by the state to be beneath this property is what we have looked at in determining and part of our decision-making as far as how many properties can possibly be developed on this parcel of land. That's one of the considerations that was given in regards to us projecting this being at most 14 future developments. It may be less. We don't know for sure yet. But I just wanted to let everyone here know, given the written comments that were given, some of the verbal comments that were given tonight, including by, I believe, is Mr. Murphy, about concern for water. I'm sorry? Derek's fine. Oh, okay. Okay, Derek. But the concern about groundwater, the groundwater that will be used by these homes is groundwater that is rightfully owned by IPA Development. It will be deeded on a pro rata basis to however many residences ultimately get developed, whether that's 8, 10, 14, we don't know yet. But they will, and then they will also have to comply with strictly with a replacement plan that has to be approved by the state. Hasn't been submitted yet, but it will be following this. And the requirements there will comply with the basin determinations as far as what was already declared as potential uses of the water and annual amounts. And also that does have to comply with Elbert County's 300-year requirement, not the state's 100-year requirement as far as groundwater usage. So all that is to say that we're well aware of all of these things. We've already looked at them and taken them into consideration and moving forward with this process and having a just large-scale idea of how this property may be developed. And we're going to continue to keep that in mind as we move forward, following hopefully the rezoning here. And all that is to say that, frankly, the neighboring property owners don't need to be concerned about the groundwater. The only groundwater that's going to be used is what's rightfully underneath these properties, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at that point, I think there was a couple things said in your presentation, and I think the primary thing said was, okay, it could be this many houses or it could be this many houses. We have no clue. Okay, so right now, it's going to be based off several things, and that's all going to be determined when they come before us as a preliminary plat. So what I would offer is that please watch for it. You heard that it's when it's going to come, close, but please get back here and we can see what's brought forward and we can then look at things. Okay, and we'll have a much more information and maybe answer many more of your questions. So, with that, I was going to end public comment. You had... See, it's going to be based. That's to be determined because it's going to be based on the number of homes they put in the development. The number of homes they want to put in the area. That's where. Go ahead if you want to.
I can go ahead and address that at this time.
Please, don't go into depth. Just she asked a question. What aquifer?
Sure. I would just first preface with saying that. IPA Development owns the water rights to every aquifer underneath this property at this time. That includes several. There's a total of
5 aquifers at this location. Right now, the intention is to, in compliance with the basin determinations that were already granted by the state, is to submit a replacement plan which would require a setup using the upper aquifer that's not non-tributary, the upper Dawson aquifer, that's the most shallow. And then, however, like I said, there is groundwater in each of the underlying aquifers that could also be used.
Okay. That's enough. We don't know. Okay? So, it's public comment now. What we're going to do, let's go through questions up here. Do we have any? Okay. Just to read it. None?
No question.
Okay. No. Spoke enough, I have none. All right. Again, please come back to the preliminary plat. It will be heard, okay, and hopefully you'll get more answers. Okay, with that, can we have a motion for a vote, please? Please?
Pardon me, Commissioner, your microphone is off.
I move that the Planning Commission make a recommendation of approval to the Board of County Commissioners for the case RZ 2023-6236, subject to the following conditions as recommended in the staff report. Applicant will be required to remove the public hearing signs within 7 days of a decision by the Board of County Commissioners. The rezoning shall not become effective until all fees are paid, conditions of approval are met, and the exhibit is recorded, and recordation of all appropriate documentation to occur within 180 days of Board of County Commissioners approval.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Did you get that, Wendy? Okay, do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Folks, thank you. 2 weeks, I believe, this will go before the board. And remember that what came out of here is a recommendation. Okay?
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, oh, we got 3 more.
Halfway. Almost.
All right, so now at this point, we have industrial tower. Okay.
Okay. Hello. For the record, Kelsey Lanham with the Elbert County Planning Department, and tonight I will be presenting Industrial Tower West SIMLA case. It is a special use by review, case number SUR-2024-28526. Like I mentioned, this is a special use by review request for a 330-foot wireless telecommunications tower to replace an existing tower that is located at 28526 County Road 105 in Simla, Colorado. The Planning Department is recommending that the Planning Commission makes a recommendation of approval to the Board of County Commissioners. The applicant is Kyle DiNardo. The pre-application was held back in December of 2022. The community meeting was in May of 2023, and I will note that there was no attendees at the community meeting. It was Kyle himself, and that's about it. The formal application was submitted this year in July, and here we are tonight, October 15th at Planning Commission, and right now it is scheduled to go in front of the Board of County Commissioners on November 13th. All noticing was completed in accordance with the zoning regulations. The subject property is about 17 miles to the east of Kiowa. It is represented with the little red star. It's located off Highway 86 and County Road 105. The subject property itself is approximately 6.995 acres. I will just round up and say it's about 7. The surrounding property is owned by one owner and has a total acreage of 12,224 acres. Here is an overview of the surrounding land uses. The subject property is zoned industrial, and like I said, is about 7 acres. All surrounding properties are zoned agriculture. And here is their SUR exhibit. The proposed tower will be 330 feet in height. There is an existing H tower on the property that is 320 feet in height, so that one will be removed and this proposed tower will take its place. The proposed compound will not change in terms of building, equipment layout, the generator, or the propane tank. Everything else will remain the same except for the tower. These are the referral agencies that received and reviewed the applications. All comments have been adequately addressed and there are no outstanding concerns. And these are the following agencies that did not respond. The Elbert County zoning regulations determines that a special use by review permit must follow the review criteria set forward in Article 3, Section E, number 5, and those 8 criteria are as follows. 1, the use is in harmony and compatible with the surrounding area and neighborhood. The use is in harmony and compatible with the surrounding area. Like I mentioned, there is an existing compound and tower on the subject property. Although surrounding properties are agricultural driven, the proposed use is compatible and beneficial to the area. Number 2, the use will not have an undue burden on available infrastructure. There is no infrastructure on the subject property. The use will not unduly increase traffic congestion or burden the existing road system. The proposed use does not unduly increase traffic or burden existing road system. There is an existing access easement to the subject property, and the tower will continue to only require monthly maintenance, which will not increase the traffic flow. Number 4, the use will not cause significant air, odor, water, noise, or light pollution. The proposed use will not cause any pollution. The tower will be lighted, though, due to Federal Aviation Administration requirements. All sanitation requirements will be met. No sanitation is being proposed. The use will be adequately landscape buffered and screened. The proposed use does not suggest landscaping, buffering, or screening. The tower is surrounded by over 12,000 acres that is owned by one property owner, so screening was not suggested for this tower. The use will not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. The proposed use will not be detrimental to those in the county or future. And finally, supplemental standards are met for specific uses, and all supplemental standards have been met. And with that, Elbert County Planning staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommends approval to the Board of County Commissioners for special use by review application, case number SUR 2024-28526, with the following 9 conditions. The applicant will be required to remove the public hearing sign within 7 days of approval by the Board of County Commissioners. 2, the special use by review shall not become effective until all fees are paid, conditions of approval are met, and the SUR exhibit is recorded. And 3, recordation of all appropriate documentation is to occur within 180 days of Board of County Commissioners approval. Number 4, Industrial Tower West will grant Elbert County Communications Authority, known as ECA, space on the ground for their cabinet at no cost. Number 5, ECA, Elbert County Communications Authority, will provide and pay for their own power. Number 6, a structural analysis or engineering report will be required and, that is supposed to say done, by Industrial Tower West at a cost to the Elbert County Communications Authority. Number 7, the Elbert County Communications Authority can do their own construction on the tower as long as their contractor is insured and certified. Number 8, space on the tower will be negotiated between Industrial Tower West and the Elbert County Communications Authority. And finally, number 9, reserve 2 12-foot high locations on the tower for potential use of emergency communications antennas in the future. Heights on the tower would be negotiated at the time of need. And this concludes my presentation. The applicants are present tonight if you have any questions.
We have the applicant here.
Hi, I'm Teresa Swigert. I also work with Industrial Tower West at 2825 West Beaver Avenue in Fort Morgan, Colorado 80701. As Kelsey said eloquently, that everything we're doing is just replacing an old tower with a new tower, increasing by like 10 feet. And then we have absolutely no issues meeting all the conditions. Any questions?
Thank you. Do we have any public comment on the tower? Hearing none. Okay, questions on the tower? I think Kevin's got a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask one quick question. What does the extra 10 feet get you for that replacement tower?
It just helps.
Aged infrastructure? Or?
Yeah, it's a different type of tower, and it helps with the structural analysis.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
And ECA did reserve space?
Yes.
Okay. Jim White? Okay. He doesn't have it set. Okay. Thank you. All right. All right. At this point, do we have a motion?
I move that the Planning Commission make a recommendation of approval to the Board of County Commissioners for case SUR 2024-28526, subject to the following conditions as recommended in the staff report. Do you need me to read all those again?
No.
Oh, that's
Second.
good. Dee Dee. Dee Dee did the motion. Kevin, second. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay.
We should have put them on the front of the list.
They had to go, yes.
Huh?
Okay, now we're at Triple Acres rezone.
Alrighty. So again, for the record, Kelsey Lanham with the Elbert County Planning Department, and tonight I will be presenting the Triple Acres rezone, case number RZ-2023-33442. So this case is for the rezoning of 39.312 acres from agriculture to agriculture residential at 33442 County Road 25 in Elizabeth, Colorado 80105. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission make a recommendation of approval to the Board of County Commissioners. The applicant and property owner is Lanny Adelman. The pre-application meeting was held in September of 2023. The community meeting was held in January of 24. A full application was submitted in June of 2024, and here we are tonight at the October 15th Planning Commission, and as of right now, this case is scheduled for the November 13th Board of County Commissioners hearing. I will mention during the community meeting that was held in January, some of the concerns were around future development of the property and water. Noticing was completed in accordance with zoning regulations. So the subject property is approximately 3.25 miles to the southeast of Elizabeth. Again, it is shown by the little red star. The subject property is south of the Bow Meadows subdivision and east of Sunflower Ridge subdivision. The subject property is currently zoned agriculture. Surrounding properties vary in zoning from residential 1, residential 2, or agriculture. And here's their rezone exhibit. As you can see, the entire property is being requested to be rezoned. These are the referral agencies that received and reviewed the application. All comments have been adequately addressed and there are no outstanding concerns. And these 3 agencies did not respond. And with that, the Elbert County zoning regulations determines that a rezone must follow the review criteria set forward in Article 3, Section C, number 4. And those 6 criteria are as follows. Number 1, whether the proposed rezoning conforms to and is generally consistent with the goals of the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. The proposed rezoning conforms to those goals. Number 2, whether the proposed rezoning is compatible with surrounding land uses. The proposed rezone is compatible with the surrounding uses. Surrounding properties, like I mentioned, are zoned agriculture, residential 1, and residential 2, which is for smaller lots. Number 3, whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact the provision of the public services. The proposed rezone will not adversely impact the provision of public services. Elbert County Public Works was a referral agency for this application, as well as Elizabeth Fire, and there are no outstanding objections from either agency. Number 4, whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact the environment. The proposed rezone would not adversely impact the environment. Number 5, whether the proposed rezoning would create unreasonable traffic congestion or burden the existing road system without improvements. The proposed rezone will not create unreasonable traffic congestion or burden existing road system without improvements. The Elbert County Public Works was a referral agency, and there are no outstanding objections at this time. Number 6, whether the proposed rezoning will not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. The proposed rezone will not otherwise be detrimental for those in the county or the future. The Elbert County Planning Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommends approval to the Board of County Commissioners for rezone application RZ-2023-33442 with the following conditions. The applicant will be required to move the public hearing sign within 7 days of approval by the Board of County Commissioners. 2, the rezone shall not become effective until all fees are paid, conditions of approval are met, and the rezone exhibit is recorded. And finally, number 3, recordation of all appropriate documentation is to occur within 180 days of the Board of County Commissioners' approval. And with that, that concludes my presentation. The applicant is present tonight, and I'm available for any questions if you have any.
Thank you. The applicant, please.
Lenny Edelman, 33442, County Road 25. Any questions?
Do you have any more information for us?
I was just building it for my future home. I was going to sell the existing residence and then proceed to build on one of the existing lots.
Okay. So just, we're going to go around the public comment.
Yes, sir. My name is Norm Bass. My address is 33250 County Road 25. My access road runs the length of the property in question. There were, during the preliminary hearings, there were actually quite a few concerns. Traffic was one. We know the situation there. Drainage was also another one. And also there were some concerns over the possibility for drifting across the, if improper fencing or improper vegetation were to be planted along the road, the access road for my property and also the property that's further to the east. My neighbor to the east is actually disabled, and due to improper fencing that was allowed on one of the subdivisions that's further down the road there, it created a terrible drifting problem to the point where my neighbor had an emergency situation. The fire department responded, but could not actually even reach his property because of the drifting that was created by the improper fencing. So those are issues that I'll be happy to address when we go to the next meeting, where he's going to put in a requirement or a request to subdivide the property into 3 different sections. So I won't waste any more of the commission's time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Well, that's good.
Thank you very much. Any other comment? Okay.
This has nothing to do with that. I don't have the information of the guy that hit my car. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Let's finish that out. You guys can come and
Well, I don't think we have.
people that literally have an appointment here to put their wedding venue in place is who it
Yeah, it's on the application. Yeah.
Take care of these guys first. These papers.
Well, here, let's just, can you provide that, please? All right, Brenda. Thank you.
Hey, it's a late night for all of us. I want you guys to get out of here as much as
I thought he was giving that to you, but he,
He came in with a plate. I was more concerned with what was going on, so I gave him my contact information.
Oh.
Oh.
Safe and sorry, but
All right.
sorry. Take care.
Brenda will get it for you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't want to.
Thanks, Brenda.
you're great, fine.
Okay,
No,
all right, so,
I don't have
on the board, questions?
rezoning again.
That's,
This one's pretty simple.
It's
I got
called
no questions.
just a rezoning.
I mean, I know what they did.
That's my favorite thing. Every time it's rezoning, it's just a.
all right. Okay, so, at this point, no further comment. May I have a motion, please?
I got it right here.
Oh, you got it? Good.
Got it. I move that the planning commission make a recommendation of approval to the Board of County Commissioners for case RZ-2023-33442, subject to the following condition as recommended by the staff report, which has already been read.
Okay, there's the motion from Dee Dee. Do we have a second? Second from Van. Okay, do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, All in favor? Aye. Sounded like across the board. Okay. I think at this time, I think our last item on the agenda is we're looking at some of the regulations update. So, folks, you can. Thank you.
Thank you. Wait a minute here.
Yes, we don't shut down till 11.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, the regulations. Let's see. So we have 10 items, sections more or less, that are being proposed to have updating, a little change to them. The first item is the pre-application meeting waiver language. I will just mention, so when we sent out the regulations, this section was one of those that had suggestion from a planning commission member. So this first initial slide is what the planning department recommended, and then on this next slide, I'll go ahead and advance. And the planning commissioner suggested that we create clear criteria that clearly defines when a pre-application meeting can or cannot be waived.
Correct.
So I will open kind of up for discussion. What does that criteria look like? It was more broad.
Yeah, I would look at it and say, is it related to the size of the event, the area of the event, the population of the event? All of those could be considered some level of criteria that could be considered. I mean, we don't want to give the CDS director a blanket ability to waive the application.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so I would think those three things might be good criteria. Open it up to the rest of the board to think through.
Comments?
I think that's right.
So just to clarify, you said size of the application, population surrounding, and what was the final item?
Yeah, his brilliance only comes.
I had to think about how to spell population at this hour. Maybe the potential impact or something like that with how many properties could be impacted.
It was the area plus the size of the application plus the number of people.
Population.
Population.
Perfect. Are we ready to move on?
I actually, the way this has been in place for a long period of time. It's always been up to the CDS director, the head of CDS, if they could waive the pre-application meeting or the community meeting, not the pre-app meeting.
I thought they could waive the pre-app.
I never knew that we could waive the pre-app meeting. Yeah, and so what this came about, they could always waive the community meeting, but the general mindset was to never waive that unless there was just something, if it was small, there was literally nothing there. So we're talking about waiving the pre-app meeting. And I guess that I wouldn't put any criteria. I would continue just to keep that pre-app meeting under the discretion of the CDS director, because I don't know of a time when they've waived a pre-app meeting.
That's because we're not aware that they waived.
Well, this was brought up, Danny, because there was some instance where it was highlighted.
Okay.
That's why I think that's why the whole thing was brought up to begin with.
See, and I guess my thoughts are is we're trying to put criteria to we're going to increase our regulations to expand the criteria to do a pre-app meeting when truly all that needs to be said is really you should have a pre-app meeting for every application.
That's the other side of it.
Yeah. Pre-app meeting is an educational meeting for the applicant or anybody involved.
So your proposal is to
Literally, there is
require-
no reason. Yeah, and I don't, and I thought prior to our rewrite, it was required. Because that's the only way you got input from everybody in the county on majority of people in the county.
So with that, we get initial comments, feedback.
Right.
At the pre-app stage, it would still go through like a referral stage and we can get comments that way.
Yeah.
This is more so for, for minor applications where it doesn't even go to hearing, where if it's just a
It's an administrative, yes, but you still do a pre-app meeting, correct? Because you have to determine if it's going to be an administrative review or full board review.
Yeah, I think that was the essence of it, that Mike had stated it. He wanted there to be a pre-app on everything.
See, and that's where I think, so you set criteria, and then because really, I go back to the pre-app meeting is specifically for the applicant. Truly, that's when the applicant learns everything about it. And I don't know what you would do without it, because, every place I've had to go, Lakewood, Littleton, Arapahoe County, Jefferson County, every place, everybody requires a pre-app meeting. I was gonna build a shed, I had to have a pre-app meeting in Lakewood, okay? Now, I know, it only lasted 5 minutes, literally, and it's me coming down and speaking with somebody, but it was a meeting to give me information. That's why I go back to,
So your proposal
I'm
is to
proposing
strike it.
that you strike all this stuff with the criteria, because
Well, you're talking
then
about
you-
striking at the discretion of the CDS director, a pre-app meeting may be deemed necessary.
Yeah.
May be deemed not necessary and therefore not required. Just strike that and require.
require the
Needs to
pre-app
be
meeting.
required.
I truly am, because
okay
I have not, I'll tell you, I built in, many counties. Hell, they even require it in Texas, which,
Okay, so then we can propose to just strike this from suggested changes and keep it that pre-application meetings will be required for all applications.
all applications. That's the way I would put it.
No, there shouldn't be any discretionary.
Okay.
I do.
I do.
And of course, these are just suggestions, they go before the board.
Perfect.
But
Number 2. So this one is the reformatting of the noticing templates. These are just the big yellow signs that are getting posted. What staff recommended in the red font at the bottom, we put the updated phone number. And we stated that all public comment due to the CDS inbox 1 week prior to public hearing. That way it makes it into the packet. For the next slide, I will mention that a planning commission member suggested, and let me turn on my laser pointer so you can see the difference. One moment. They wanted to add in and suggested that we say all written public comment due to the email. So just going back, before it said all public comment, the suggestion was to write all written public comment. Well, I didn't want to put your name out there.
If somebody calls up and says, this is what I want, okay, this is what I suggest, where's the record of it? It needs to be in writing, okay, before we can consider it. So that's why I put the written thing.
But that's not what that says.
Yeah, it does.
It says all written, so if they take a public comment, it needs to be translated into writing. That's not what that says.
No, it's, okay. What I'm saying here is that the public comment has to be in writing.
Okay, it must be documented,
No, that's fine, whatever.
whether it be email, voice, whatever.
Well, no, I think it needs to be in writing, okay? So that you have a record of it. If somebody calls up and says something,
Right.
you don't have a record of it.
Saying documented. The way it's written right there, all written public comments means that any public comment that's accepted prior to the week is something that comes in via email. That's the way that's written.
So with written comments, so people can hand deliver like written notes and pen and pencil. We do scan those in and those will be included. We include the email documents. We cannot legally write down a phone comment just because we could change it. So anything that's handwritten, emailed, faxed, whatever, that would be I can't even speak anymore, would be considered written public comment, and that would be scanned in and included in the packet if 1 week prior to public hearing.
Okay, all right. Because you can't take phone calls.
Because you can't,
Yeah,
Okay, that's cool.
Okay, I get it.
What he's trying to say is all comments need to be written, instead all written comments.
Yep, that works, John.
Can I ask a question?
No.
Moving on. It was only about the days. I know we've been working to get you the packet a week ahead of time. And so if we kept this language, it may be the next day, right? Because if we get it, and so would you all rather it be 8 days for the comments, or are you okay getting the packet the following day? Again, we just don't want to leave something out.
Just go close the business prior to, you guys are
well,
working.
that's what the intention was, that they had to have it in at least a week in advance.
So with the public hearing packets, they go out by the end of the day on Tuesdays. So Wednesday's morning, yes. So is Wednesday morning okay to get that sent to the commission, or would you still like it a week in advance, the packet?
If it's 800 pages, I want it as early as possible.
There's 800 pages. It's really tough to try to get all that read and written in and
Sure.
drive-bys and all those things that we do.
So are we okay then with keeping it the 1 week prior?
Yep. All public comments must be written and due to CDS, Elbert County, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that's probably better.
Yeah.
Must be written,
And then if we receive a comment at 5 PM, it would just be,
That's secondary, and it basically goes into a discretionary package that gets delivered probably to the board at that level, right? We probably won't consider it.
We don't. If it's after the date we get the application, then what always went on was it goes into the board packet, but not ours. Really, is really what,
We're just trying to be clear, just so that expectations, right? So we
Well,
know
but-
what to get you and at what point.
see, because that last week, after the planning commission, you don't know how many comments come in, written, email, everything else on an application, especially a controversial application. And they just keep coming. Then you can't ignore those folks. So really, you put the cutoff point, what goes to the planning commission is what's received by that date, okay? Then after that, it goes into the board packet going on to the BOCC.
perfect. So we can all agree on this. Yeah,
You gotta
to add
change-
There was a change.
You gotta
there.
change the written,
Must be in writing.
all public comment must be in writing and due to.
So just to repeat that one last time so we can all hear it. We will change it to all public comment must be in writing and is due to cds@elbertcounty-co.gov 1 week prior to public hearing.
Okay, add one. All public comments must be submitted in writing. By your date.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, that's better.
whatever your date is.
Right, that's better, Danny.
1 week prior to the hearing.
Yeah.
Because then that defines that you can submit them in writing. That's
Okay.
the only way. You call, won't count.
Perfect. Now, the next couple slides are the same exact thing. We will repeat that to all the next
Good,
slides.
well, we can repeat that through the things. Good.
Rinse and repeat.
All righty. Number 3. Easy.
Oh.
A little comment at the bottom in red is going to note mailed notice required to be sent to surrounding properties, including those located in other counties within a 1320 radius.
Quarter-mile radius. It's the other counties, which were the things that, isn't that new?
This is simply, yes, just a clarifying, adding it to the regulations for repetition.
Okay.
Yep.
It's not, I thought it was currently listed in the regulations.
Not the little blurb at the bottom of the table.
About the
We had a pretty big
neighboring
debate.
counties.
We had a pretty big debate on it.
We talked about it in previous work sessions, but it's not currently read in the regulations like that, or written.
Oh, I'm good. I'm surprised it isn't in there.
That's why we're adding.
Yeah, I am really surprised. That one I did, that one I wasn't aware of.
Can we all agree on this one?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Now, the next couple slides are just adding this in different places
Good.
for repetition. Next one.
Love it.
So this is in Article 2 for general requirements. We're just changing a little bit of the language to add again. I'll just read the whole thing. When required, the applicant is responsible to ensure a notice of public hearing or administrative decision is sent to surrounding properties as specified in the table above, including those located within other counties. And that table it's referencing is this one. Yes. And the next 2 slides are the exact same thing, but now we're changing it in the subdivision regulations.
Yeah, because you got to do, yeah, I was going to say. You're gonna
So at the bottom of this table in Article 2, General Subdivision Requirements of the Subdivision Regulations, we are suggesting adding the little blurb at the bottom that says mailed notice required to be sent to surrounding properties, including those located in other counties within a 1320 radius. Also, we are suggesting that we change the radius requirements for all applications for consistency. They will all require the quarter-mile radius. So in red, these 3 land use applications used to be 500 feet. We are suggesting the change to make it 1320 so that all applications are the same.
Okay, so dumb question on the vacation of right-of-way. What exactly does that mean and how does it relate to plats? I mean, I understand right-of-way and public easements, but plats?
So for vacation of right-of-way, it's the property on either side. That's typically who receives right-of-way that's vacated, so it is not the full radius.
Got that. But right-of-way is different than plats.
Yeah, because final plat and preliminary plat are already listed.
Right.
So we simply
Why not just strike it? Vacation of right-of-way and public easements. Yeah.
We will strike that.
Sorry, I know that wasn't in your
Nope, that's
editing.
Trust me, the more I read, the more I see.
Okay, so can we all agree on changing the radius requirements to the quarter-mile radius for all applications? The blurb at the bottom stating, notice to all surrounding property owners, even those within other counties within the quarter-mile radius, and additionally striking the words "and plats."
Correct.
Good. Moved.
Perfect. Next one.
Well done, Danny.
Yeah.
Last one?
Good job.
Good job.
For repetition, we are suggesting for the subdivision regulations, when required, the applicant is responsible to ensure a notice of public hearing or administrative decision is sent to surrounding properties as specified in the table above, including those located within other counties.
Yep.
Said table is that one.
Yep.
Okay, that table, you've got in there, it's an issue with the table. So you've got plat amendment, minor subdivision, exemption plat, admin lot line adjustment, vacation and rights of way, public easement and plats, EDZ subdivision. However, you're missing one point which the county got sued on. And that was, we essentially got sued on an off-site improvement that we didn't notice. Okay, and it came back, we had to rehear it. And it went on for a long time, but what happened was there was a road. It was 182 came through, and the initial notification went out to all the properties around the platted area, okay? The subdivision. But within there in the SIA, it also had this road that was going to go all the way to Delbert Road. We didn't notice people on the borders of that road, that easement. Okay, that's what they ended up, we had to go back and rehear that because we didn't notice. Even though it was not in our code, the judge found that it doesn't make sense to have a road and not notice people next to a road. True, got it. It did make sense. But, so within there, I don't know how you can...
You kind of got it with the vacation right-of-way and public easements.
Well, you do.
It's
adjacent, but see, this was determined in the SIA.
1320?
Yeah, and it went way past, it went way down, which took on about another 15 properties that needed to be noticed. So I would say to that thing, and I would check with the attorney, because Bart's got to know.
So then, is your suggestion?
Yeah, and I don't even know what language to put, and you would have to talk, but I know that what this covers, it's pretty close, but you want to be specific, so if you, because now we're asking for SIAs in the final thing, and if you're thinking there's going to be a road or something, notification needs to be made. The road improvements,
So we don't have to get that changed right now, but
No.
we do need to get Bart to weigh in on it.
to weigh in on, but I'm saying that this can't go unnoticed because we ended up getting sued on it. And lawsuit went for 1.5 years.
So just to clarify, the question is, can we implement having a quarter-mile radius around
Proposed off-site improvements, SIA developments, okay, something. And I would really, and I would also check with the board and see, do you guys remember this? Because the current board has to remember it. So, okay.
With the other items, though, does
Good.
Planning Commission agree for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, don't be. That's okay. The next one is adjusting the language for a co-locate permit. Essentially, this just specifies when a co-locate permit is required and is not required.
Is including the ground equipment or the tower, or the ground equipment, is that in addition? Is that covered somewhere else? So you're accepting it there?
If someone wanted to move ground equipment,
Like the one we just heard with the tower, right? If they move the propane tanks, as an example, I would think that
That would-
511 weigh in, we'd have to ask the question on.
so that wouldn't be considered co-locate. That would more so be like a site plan. Co-locate is essentially, so the tower they're proposing, if it's an AT&T tower and Verizon wanted to come onto it, that would be co-location. If the AT&T just wanted to change out some of their existing equipment, no co-locate is needed.
All right,
So Verizon doesn't want to share their ground equipment with AT&T.
Find a different tower.
this came about when Echo wanted to change their tower. And they literally wanted to move it a few feet, and they had to go back through the whole process. Yes, this came about, yeah.
So if you wanted to change the location of a tower, that would be a separate.
That would be a separate issue, but this was a little different in that, no, it was, we had to add a dome on the tower. We had to go back through the whole process.
So I don't know the case, but it could be considered a co-locate.
Yes, and this was brought about because of the issue. It cost a lot of money to go through the whole process just to put a different signal receiver on that tower. Yep, no, that's okay. Man, that was years
Yeah.
ago.
Good.
That was it, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Next.
This is very simple. This is just fixing grammar. To make it read nicer. Applicants shall submit the list. It's referring to the, what is this? The radius report. Yeah, so this is referring to the radius report, so applicants shall submit the list and an 11 by 17 inch map showing each property required to be notified.
Yeah.
Good.
Perfect. Next. Okay, so the next items are continuance language. So the proposed change is in blue, and it reads, so there's one for Planning Commission, Board of Adjustments, and then Board of County Commissioners. I will just let you know that they all read the same, the just board is changed out. So the proposed suggestion is the Planning Commission may continue the consideration of an application. Continuances may be requested by the chair, petitioner, or county staff, and the reason for such request entered into the record of the meeting. Continuances must be to a specific time and date, not to exceed 3 months from the original hearing date. No more than 3 continuances total will be granted. An application may not be continued for more than 9 months from the original hearing date, or the application will need to restart the public hearing process. I will mention that one planning commissioner did have a suggestion. A little discussion and more clarification is needed on what they suggested. Their comment was, all board decisions to request a continuance need to be requested by a board majority and not just by the chair. After reading that suggestion, we took it as continuances need to be voted on by the board.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Which
And
they
that is, continuances need to be voted on.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
you
that
can't just take, the chair doesn't have the ultimate authority to, yeah.
And that is how
Let's ask the question a different way though, right? So, we had a situation where, a couple weeks ago, we did a thing where we suggested a continuance. It didn't come from you as the chair, it came from
a board member.
Board member, commissioner. So is that still allowed in this scenario?
Yes, I'm thinking it is allowed in this scenario, yes.
If you vote on it.
Yeah, if you vote on it, because we voted on it.
The continuance is requested, may be requested by the chair, petitioner, or county staff, and the reason, blah, 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 says that you can do it, the county staff can do it, or the applicant themselves. I think that's what you mean by petitioner, right? The applicant. It doesn't say
But
it
the
can come
ultimate
from.
is, yeah, but the
You know,
ultimate
if I
decision-
say, you know, we're missing a regulation, we're missing a piece of the puzzle, we need a continuance, and we bring it up and you say, no, you don't. I still want to get it on the record at some level.
See, now, that was the thing, that's what we ran into, is Robert's Rules of Order.
Right.
Is that if there's a request, a motion to do a continuance, then it has to be voted on. It truly does. You have to go through and vote on that for the thing. So we couldn't just, that gives nobody that doesn't allow anybody to come up and say we can continue it with the full power. It has to go to a board vote.
I think we agree.
I think we're talking about the same thing.
We are, sort
You
of.
you just think this doesn't say that.
I'm saying that, yeah, I'm thinking it
That's
doesn't.
right, yeah.
If we say this must follow Robert's Rules of Order, we got to do a boatload
But
of education.
what it said in here, because it's not listed in here, this can't be, the planning commission may continue the consideration of any application based on a board vote, really, is what it needs to say.
Could we say continuances may be requested by any member of the
Yeah,
commission?
you're gonna have to go on the continuances maybe, and how we're gonna word that. The planning commission may continue the consideration of any application. Under these circumstances. The continuance is requested by so and so. Which you said, it can be, the continuance can actually be requested by the applicant, CDS, anybody on the board. So pretty much any member of the hearing can request. I don't know
Any
that
direct-
citizens can, no,
any
we
direct
citizens
party.
cannot, no.
Any direct party.
So it only has to be, we've got to specifically list the applicant, board members, or staff.
Right.
Because there's reasons where any of those. would
Yes,
be.
yeah.
So are we okay if we only change the chair to any commissioner?
No,
You're saying board member. In this case, it would be.
requested by,
Commissioner, in the case of the Board of County Commissioners, it'd be the board.
okay,
Yeah, so we would change it for
request,
each one. So if it's-
continuances may be requested by the board, the petitioner, or county staff.
Okay.
Okay, followed by a majority vote.
Do you want me to read it? One second.
If you got it.
So I have continuances may be requested by the board, petitioner, or county staff, and the reason for such request entered into the record of the meeting, followed by a majority vote.
I would actually put followed by a majority vote right after
It needs
the
to be
staff.
after the board.
Right after the board, yeah.
Continuances may
follow-up.
be requested by the board, petitioner, or county staff, followed by,
A board vote.
do you want a board
Just-
vote or majority vote?
You just need to
Majority
put,
vote.
you just need to put the majority vote after the board, put it in front of the petitioner and the county sheriff.
Yeah.
That's where it needs to be.
Well, the board would have to vote if staff recommended as well.
We would have to vote, and I wanted to make sure you guys are aware of that, so that puts you guys in a situation, if you
Yeah.
request a continuance, it's gotta go before the board, and we gotta vote on it.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, no, and, yeah.
Beer break.
What's that?
Beer break.
Beer break.
That too.
It sounds about like that time now.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. How many
Now,
others?
it is the same for the next 3 slides. This will be changed in the next 3 slides to match exactly.
As appropriate for the body.
Yes,
So commission, board, private.
correct. Okay, number 7. This one's pretty simple. The proposed change creates consistency for the signature blocks. The only thing that is proposed to change is the fire protection district language.
You got and notary, or and owner and notary. You can probably replace one of those ands with a comma.
We will scratch the first and. Other than that, do we agree?
And that's on both the signature blocks.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Yep.
Oh, yes. Okay, moving on.
We're almost there.
Yes. This is for, the minor SUR process. The proposed change suggests adding the ability to waiver a community meeting at the discretion of the CDS director. Additionally, the signature block requirement is the same for a regular SUR, except we would add in the language, except for the signature blocks of the planning commission due to planning commission not seeing minor SURs. I will mention that a planning commissioner suggested, in favor of leaving the community meeting in place for now. In my opinion, it needs to be spelled out in writing when a community meeting can or cannot be waived. Without that, I would be against the language and the proposed change. I would also add all community meetings must be within 12 months of the public hearing. End quote. So the question we had for Planning Commission was the ability to waive the community meeting for a minor SUR and timeline of said community meeting.
Okay, you get a minor SUR. Okay, that's a small SUR, because you're not going to waive the community meeting. And I know any director's not going to waive the community meeting of anything significant. So really, the small SURs, no, I have no problem with that. I think that the director, CDS director should have authority to do that.
So keep it that the director has the ability to waive.
That's my feelings. I've done them.
Okay.
Because that is truly, when you're talking about a minor SUR.
Give us a for instance on a minor SUR.
An example could be an ADU, a home occupation that has a single outside employee that's not a family member.
Power we heard tonight is one. It didn't need a public meeting.
Is already there.
So that one required an
See,
SUR because.
that means if you require a community meeting, that means every ADU that's going up out here has to have a community meeting. And boy, ooh.
Well, the towers were considered a major SUR.
Yeah. But not an ADU.
Correct.
An ADU, if you start putting that means everybody who wants to put up a little,
Correct. So that's a few examples of a time that the CDS director could.
Yeah, but I don't know what you guys feel about that.
Do we all agree to keep this first language?
year? Mm-mm. You can't put that requirement on.
Okay.
Reason is because it takes so long. And I will tell you, it takes, they come and they do a community meeting, and then you go back, after you get all the input from that community meeting, then you go back and it takes months, sometimes, the percent of the time, it takes a year and a half easily to come back and try to build something. Yeah.
Okay.
The interesting thing there is, and I know it was an economic development zone case, but we had a lack of a community meeting for a EDZ submittal, and I know it's a different thing.
Yeah, that was a mistake on EDZs.
Yeah, I think, believe me, I believe that's a mistake. But I also know that front line of the subdivision changes out probably almost every 12 months. There's 4 or 5 new people coming into that place, and suddenly popping up and saying, okay, so now I suddenly have a trailer park across the way from where I live, and the value of my home goes from this to this. I'm going to want to be notified. I want to at least speak my angst in a community meeting and have that conversation with the person that's going to develop that. And if we change it every 12 months and we lose people with the representation, I know where he's coming from on it.
Well, I know where both of them are coming from.
The question becomes, can we streamline, have we streamlined enough
So a
to be able
minor,
to get to?
No.
yeah, a minor SUR will still be noticed for the administrative decision. So there's still, correct.
We're talking about the 12-month.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, you're also talking the EDZ, and one of the mistakes in the EDZ is we pulled the
know I used a
community
bad
meeting out of
example.
that. And that was something, I don't know why we did that. We pulled the community meeting out of the EDZ to try to streamline the development. And it was stupid. Truly, it was. And I was part of that, so.
Well, we had pitchforks and
Oh, man, listen, and you're talking about developing property that goes up to people's residential property, and they don't get a community meeting because we took it out of the whoa, we heard about it. Yeah, and so that's why the EDZ, yeah.
Yeah, it was a bad example, but I'm still trying to factor it into that 12-month window. Have we streamlined the process enough that we can get a community meeting within the year, or is it something where we can shift around the requirements so that the community meeting is closer to the planning commission meeting or some other element, so that we can do it and maybe make the conversation here a little less painful as well.
I will say adjusting the community meeting to be at a different process step may make an application go longer, because if you go through a pre-app meeting, a formal application.
I haven't seen one that's been less than 18 months in a while. Most of them are two into 3 years.
Right. But if we change the number step that community meeting's at, we still have to go through the referral period first. So you could have different suggestions and comments and feedback then, make your changes there, have an applicant.
I get where you're coming from.
Mhm.
And then also, that second community meeting, you do it within a year, I guarantee you, these big developments, there's no way they're getting back and getting it done within a year. Lucky if it's 2. So what happens then is they gotta renotice it, do the whole community meeting, go through the whole process again, add another layer of funding on all that, and then come back and then deal with the stuff that comes out of the next meeting.
So for this minor SUR, do we like how this is presented?
Yeah, a minor, yes, if you guys are good.
Hang on. I'm reading the second sentence, or the second word sentence.
The second, so the lower says, so Right now, it says in the regulations that the minor SUR be prepared to the regular SUR requirements, which is correct, but we just have to take out the signature block for planning commission.
Oh, yeah.
That's all.
Yes, that's
now it
all.
says.
Yes, yes.
Okay. On the top one,
Yes.
we're not,
So this says that it may be required. So if the director deems that an application will affect an area population is too impactful, what have it, a community meeting will happen. If it's something like a little ADU, the director may not deem one fit.
Yeah, director should be able to make that choice. He's gonna have to live with the turmoil if he does it wrong.
Exactly.
or we will.
Well, we will, but he's gonna ultimately get it, because they're gonna hear through us, so, yeah, so, and I mean, normally it's been, you only really limit this on an SUR when it's just something so minimal.
Exactly.
You're gonna pretty much have a community meeting on almost everything you do. It was, based on my experience, what I've seen,
So for
even
this
on the
one-
freaking dog kennels.
Yes.
You know,
Can we add some criteria that says, example given, an ADU? That gives us a little more criteria, gives them a little more criteria, but it's not as specific as, here's a list of things that you gotta follow in order to grant the waiver.
that's good, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
An ADU, it's a perfect example. You start doing community meetings on ADUs.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we can add in criteria that states, yeah.
Well,
Add that.
I got a dummy that has put in 2 ADUs in a subdivision that doesn't have a homeowners association. So.
We have 2 more.
2 more.
And then we're done. So, this one is pretty minor as well. The first section, we are proposing adding language that says, this is in terms of the radius report, so this is just additional information. The applicant shall submit list and map of property owners and addresses at time of application process step that requires public noticing. List and map of property owners shall not be generated more than 6 months prior to submittal. This is due to the fact that people move, so you have,
moving around,
you have
yes,
the most up to date as best as you can.
Okay, so the mailing, you wanna get it within 6 months prior.
Correct. So we wouldn't require the radius report and all the information until the noticing goes out. So that way, an application that is in the process for 2 years, if you pulled a radius report from 2 years ago, you could have 15 new neighbors.
You'd have to, yeah, okay.
Perfect. Do we all agree on this one?
Yep.
Perfect. The one below it, basically just for repetition, proposing to add the new language. The applicant is required to submit list and map of surrounding property owners within other county jurisdictions if applicable.
Yes.
Perfect. And the last one. This is for the sign posting affidavit. We are simply proposing these 4 words for more clarification. So it will read, I hereby certify under oath that the required notice sign or signs was or were posted on the subject property for 14 consecutive days prior to public hearing as required by the Elbert County zoning regulations.
Legalese, I like it.
Okay.
Book it,
Removal
Dano.
of such sign is a felony.
I don't know if I can enforce that.
I think it actually is. If somebody would tear down the sign, I think it's a felony.
We can look into that.
That has been done.
It has been done recently.
Yes.
And with that, do we agree on number 10?
Yes.
Perfect.
Book it, Dano.
Amen.
I move that we adjourn.
I'm seconding it.
30.
Wait. We didn't get a call for that.
All in favor?
Just kidding.
Thank you all for your patience. Same night.
Yes.
Edie.
Ending and everyone.
Wendy, do I need to sign your attendance thing?
You did come in late.
I did. I am gonna have to change